has to be something better than man.
Alright, we're rolling. Beware the beast that is Movie Goblins. I'm Noel Olmdick, and this is Movie Goblins. Across the table from me, the poker table for me is Ben Leeson.
What up?
And we have a special guest, a long time coming. It's Brett.
Hi.
It's Bretty Boy.
I'm me. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you guys for having me. I've actually been listening to the show since its beginning stages, since it was in the early development stages.
Yeah.
So I've been and I love the show. I love the dynamic is great. The energy's awesome. I love the movies you guys talk about. It's great. Yeah, it's a great show. So we've been talking about this for a long time. So thanks for having me, you guys.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you on. And so because of the recent resurgence of sort of Apes mania, there's kind of different periods of Apes mania where it's there's the early era of Planet of the Apes and stuff, but because Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes came out last month, I think we all just kind of basically all at the same time we're okay, let's do an Apes episode.
Yeah,
because we were just yeah, no, it just makes sense because because for a Lost episode we did an episode where we talked about apes,
The first one.
and he watched it on YouTube free with ads, which is 20 ads.
Not HD either. It was
God.
It was 780.
You did that to yourself, did you?
Well, because I didn't have any other way to watch it.
No, I feel you. I feel.
But here's the thing. Because in that episode it was Noah who suggested it. I was like, okay, it's always been on the list of things I got to get to.
Sure.
And I looked at the writers. I saw Rod Serling. I was like, all right, let's go. Let's do it. Because the original Twilight Zone is my favorite show of all time.
No way.
So it was like,
oh, that's awesome.
I am down. I'm there. So
Sure.
I remember the first time I watched it, I cried.
Oh my gosh.
And then we lost it. I'm not sure if we just didn't record it or we just didn't.
It was just
we just didn't have time to record it.
No, I feel like my laptop is a 10-year-old piece of shit, so it's it just didn't work.
Yeah, but then I remember we just kind of put it off, and then for this one, it was you who said, "Hey, we talked with Brett. He wants to do an Apes episode." I was like, "Okay." Because I knew you guys watched all of them.
Yeah,
basically.
for sure.
And I was
sure.
and I think I asked Noah, "Have you guys watched a certain one?" and he said no, and I think he knew that I was going to pick that one because I have a thing where I picked the most not related,
Tim Burton.
Yeah, I'm a huge Tim Burton fan.
Yes.
I'm the outlier where I love Charlie and Chocolate Factory I love it.
And hey, that can be a topic of discussion in
Yes.
of itself.
Yeah.
For a whole episode.
It will be one day.
And it's interesting you say that because my history with this franchise is I've always loved it since I was a kid. It was kind of one of my first movie franchises I remember discovering. I remember being 4 years old watching the Batman 1966 movie VHS, and right before that VHS started playing, there was a preview for the very original 1968 film, and it was a clip show of just certain scenes and lines, and I remember seeing that just being so intrigued. I was Planet of the Apes, what? It just never left my mind. It just got my imagination going. I was that sounds so weird and scary and bizarre, but fun, and for some reason I want to be involved in that. And my dad was actually really into the movies, and he explained to me what they were. He was like, "No, you can't watch that. That's just too much for your little brain to understand."
Too scary.
Exactly. So
despite its 60s era G rating, it definitely I feel was a right call, because I feel while it's something that can be enjoyed by people of all ages, it's something that you don't really understand the politics and subtext of until you're not well into once you reach adulthood,
sure,
or once adolescence,
I think mid-teens, 15.
You're kind of you kind of reach that threshold where it's oh, this is not just people in monkey makeup,
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But that first film, I love the history of it, where it's because there's the novel, which Rod Serling wrote the first screenplay for it. It was the same basic plot, but it took place in modern day ape world. It wasn't and then they realized, oh, That's expensive.
Yeah, but just make it.
So they brought in
yeah.
another writer. Like, can you just make it less expensive?
Wow.
So
I've
they
never read the novels.
Yeah, and-
there's a few chapters I read. It's not
Really?
It's fine.
Okay.
It's just kind of.
It gave us the original film.
Great.
yeah, no,
That's
it
what
serves
it's
its
known for.
purpose. Yeah.
It was a great seed of an idea.
Yeah,
Interesting.
It's brought up into,
So literally, and then Rod Serling's script is out there. You can find it. Where it's
yeah,
like,
yeah, it's
Sure.
on like
we're
script
modern.
sites. Yeah,
It's a modern day ape world.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well,
That's great.
I mean, it's awesome, but it's not as impactful because the ending was the same, but it was like
Sure.
yeah.
it's weird. But
Interesting.
so the eighth film has always been on the back burner because I watched the first film. I was like, this is great. I'm gonna get right around to watching these, and then college.
And then life
Life
happens.
happens. Yeah.
And you're like,
Life.
dang, I just...
So this was a great opportunity because we all picked very different ape films.
Yes.
Very
Oh, yeah.
different
Eras. In the
eras
franchise.
and like
Yes.
types of. They're all different types of films.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
very
Oh,
much
yeah.
so.
They're all amazing.
In their own right. Is that what he calls it?
Is that objection?
Copyright.
Objection.
Objection, Your Honor.
Conquest wasn't that great.
There is a suspect. Oh my
Fucking
God.
asshole.
This is gonna be a great conversation. This is why I've been wanting to come on this show.
Yeah.
No, Ben's absolutely right. We picked very different films. I picked one of the originals in the franchise, one of the original sequels. Like he said, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. That one I actually have history with as well. I remember seeing that on cable when I was a child. I was a little bit older than when I discovered the first one. I probably was like 7. And I remember seeing my dad watching it, ironically enough. And it was at the scene where they brought Cesar to the no table, the no torture table scene.
Yeah.
And he's like screaming in pain and everything. Spoilers. And it's like, and he's just like absolutely screaming. And I remember seeing that as a kid, just being so like freaked out and so like, I was like, oh my God, like that's like really weird. And I remember running away. Like I was so freaked out by it. So I was always those two little plants of the Apes franchise that seeped into my mind when I was a kid always never left me.
Yeah.
So by the time I did discover the original film, I was like, oh my God, I understand why I was so intrigued in all this, because it's amazing. I think I watched the very first film when I was like you were saying, Noah, probably when I was like 13, 14. Dawn was coming out and I was getting excited. My brother really likes these movies as well, so he got me into them. He was a big proponent of that because he likes the Cesar trilogy. So he really kind of kickstarted me into really watching these movies and really appreciating them. So yeah, this is great. And there was a certain other sequel that came out after the original that a certain one of us picked for today.
Yeah, Beneath the Planet of the Apes was basically it was kind of a moment of like a kind of a fork in the road for Planet of the Apes. Like do the more this like it's kind of like with an ending like that as like kind of like as punctual and dreary and just as climactic and final as that at that end as the scene
Amazing,
iconic. Like not just that, but just conclusive to the ending of like the conclusion to the arcs of the characters in the story of Planet of the Apes, where it's like, oh my God, we blew ourselves up, you know?
Now what?
And it's like, what do you do with that story? And so it's kind of a thing where it's like, oh, I got an idea. Like, just make it fucking weird as fuck and just do weird shit and be experimental a little bit with like, it's kind of like in the second half where it's like, I guess like we'll get into that when I guess we can start off with
why don't we? Yeah,
why don't we
started.
start with it? Yeah.
So the plot is what, Noah? Explain the plot.
So basically, this guy named this Charlton Heston lookalike, which is total, who was hired most definitely for his comparative features to Taylor, to Charlton Heston. Instead of his acting ability, was Brent. He was okay. Brent basically goes. He's on a rescue mission to find out what happened to Taylor and his crew, and he goes through the same rip in time, propels to the same point in time. I'm just like, I wasn't even thinking about that before. I was like, previous viewings, I was like, okay, how do you end up in the same fucking time period? But it's fine. It's whatever.
In the
It's
same
it's
area,
in the same area,
spot.
same spot, whatever.
Same hair. Anyway.
Yeah. And like
he has a beard now. It's
Yeah,
True.
it's,
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like, they're trying to find out what happened to the team. They go, they end up in the Planet of the Apes. He basically goes through the beats of the original plot of Planet of the Apes, but like half the runtime. So it's like half of the film is like, him being like, okay, it's like, people they're ape people, who run the world now. And it's
Discovering
the whole
things,
discoveries, the reveals of the original film are pretty much like condensed into like the first half of Beneath the Planet of the Apes, where it's just like it's kind of like a speed run of like trying to figure out okay, it's like, okay, what do we do? Like, we gotta reintroduce people to this world before we get to like the weird shit.
Sure.
And basically, there's General Ursus who is dealing with the problem that his people, like his squadrons of his, because he's the leader of because there's different factions of the apes. There's the military, which is gorillas. There's kind of the scholars, which is the orangutans, and there's kind of like the medicine kind of civilians, which is kind of the chimpanzees. And so his squad, like different squads of his, are like disappearing in areas that are kind of on the outskirts of the forbidden zone.
Right.
And so he's like, okay, we gotta fucking like figure this shit out. And like he stresses that whoever's doing this, we gotta wage war against them, which I feel like is in tune with the whole ideology of the original film. And in the crowd that you can point out, because they're the ones with the most specific and detailed makeup and mask, is Zira and Cornelius. And Zira is very much vehemently against it. She's like, obviously like wants to like keep peace and not want this to turn into a bloodbath.
Sure.
Trying to figure out like what is out there and try to destroy it instead of trying to like just kind of back off, because like she mentions, it's like they're thick skulled. They're like, the gorillas are stupid, so she keeps like insisting, and it's hinted. So I want to move on to Zaius, his character, because he is the closest. Really, he's the antagonist of the original film.
Sure.
In this one, he's more of a supporting semi-antagonist, because he still holds the same values he did in the original that led to the events of that film, but he also kind of plays second fiddle to the first half baddie, who is General Ursus, who's kind of like the warmongering, like kind of like kill everybody, just like we gotta be strong and just like
kill first, then the scientists.
Then exactly. And basically Brent he meets Nova. He meets Nova, and he figures out that she was with Taylor because of
his tags,
his dog tags, and basically through this like fucking like weird this movie kind of has like, sometimes I feel like this movie could have starred Charlton Heston because Brent's just a stand-in for him. Right. But the logical reason for that is just like because like hearsay is like Charlton Heston just didn't want anything to do with this movie. He just did it for the paycheck. He doesn't want to be there, so they had to get somebody to be like, And I don't think that's a whole other thing, because I feel like his character arc was complete, so there's not much you can really do with him.
No.
As like a protagonist, so I guess do this other fucking guy who. Whatever,
just basically the
honestly,
same thing.
you could do without that, in my opinion, and just like stick with the apes. But there needs to be like, I guess like the way of thinking was like there needs to be some human connection where it's like, we're strangers in a strange land,
It could have been Nova.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, she's not much of a character. She doesn't talk. She's like,
you could have had her be an interesting character with just
I can't really see anything like, I can't really see like the adventures of Nova.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But getting back
sexy primate lady.
Yeah, getting back on track.
She can cross over. With
Yes.
with other properties, anyway.
But he meets. She like leads him to where the ape civilization is, as he calls it, Ape City. Which is like, the stone structures. It's a city of apes.
It's a small village of apes.
Yeah, basically it's like beyond that frame is nothing else. But it's fine though. I find that an endearing factor where they were working with what they could, and they made something pretty fucking cool out of it. In regards to the original, where it's like that's a 5 for me, you know.
Yeah, that's a masterpiece.
And they meet up with. He just runs into Zira and Cornelius. It's just like, oh.
Hi,
it's like,
guys.
They mistake him for Taylor. There's like Taylor. It's like no.
This is like a week later, and they're
like it's
back
like a
in the
week
same-
later. Yeah,
in trouble again.
I read the passage of time by looking at Charlton Heston's beard, like how there's no facial hair. I'm just like, all right, it's been a short amount of time. It's fine. But they're just like, okay, you gotta get out of these like human. I'm not gonna go beat by beat, but like they get him out of the city, and being chased by the guerrilla militia, who come in and just like try to capture them. He ends up he ends up in it was Queensboro Plaza. I think it was like Queensboro is what it was called, and it was the subway station. That's his statue of
Which
Liberty.
is my favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah, no, in regards to Beneath, or
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm curious about that because like that's a mixed bag for me because like
His realization?
Yeah, his realization, Brent's, yeah.
We'll get to it.
Yeah,
We'll get to that. I really like that scene.
Okay, so and he pretty much like he's explored the sets in this movie. The underground sets are really good. I like him.
Yeah.
Because just like
me as
it's
well.
like it creates like it's like the opening of the movie kind of creates a feeling of familiarity.
Once they actually go beneath the planet of the apes,
Yeah, the actual fucking title.
it gets interesting.
Go figure. But it does. Yeah, because that's what it implies. Yeah, it's in
Sure.
the title, man. Yeah, but he meets these people, you know, who can reason and fuck with his head because they're psychics, and there's kind of like this like
It's very peaceful people.
yeah, no, very peaceable people.
Very peaceful.
Yeah, where it's like this council of psychic humans who are like, where have you come from? And it's just like they're pretty much trying to like use Brent as like a pawn to fight back against like the ape military. And it cuts back like at some point, like it goes back to like at some point in the movie, it's like there's a conversation between Zaius and Ursus where they're in a sauna. Which is like, I told Ben this, I'm dangerously close to seeing Zaius' banana.
Oh my goodness! You
This
know,
is like he's covering it up, you know.
you know, it was 1970. You know, they
It's a different time.
Different time.
Indeed.
I feel like this movie like represented like, because I was watching, because I've been on a Bond binge, and it's like 69, 70 were like kind of like
Sure.
the years the 70s became the 70s, and the ending of my favorite Bond film recently, on Her Majesty's Secret Service, the ending of that film was like, for me, like the point in cinema where like the 60s turned to the 70s, you know.
Oh, interesting.
It was like, yeah, it was very fascinating, cool, and very melancholy in a very fulfilling way.
Wow.
But so they're having a conversation, like they're talking about just I don't even forget. I forget what they're talking about, but like Ursus like kind of like wants them to join him in on this. And so that I don't know, I guess I wanted to bring it out just because of the fact that it was such a weird scene for me. But like bottom line, Zaius comes along with Ursus in kind of like a crusade against like this unknown threat, and they're in a very on the nose thing. The chimpanzees are protesting, which is like very much like the hippie, you know, love and peace type era, which is like I don't feel that because it's just very on the nose and very obvious and in your face. And just they kind of march on, but I feel like going back to those underground like New York completely like submerged, like completely like, in the caverns basically. It's insane. It's like the New York Stock Exchange. You know, you see different like radio music hall. And it just makes me wonder, because I have a friend who like saw these movies like when he was growing up in Brooklyn, New York, how that must have felt watching that movie in a theater in New York City.
It must have been
1970.
terrifying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just seeing all of that expanded upon from just the Statue of Liberty to now you're seeing so much of places that you know that cut a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
Places you have memories in.
Because everybody knows the Statue of Liberty.
Everyone does,
Yeah.
but some of those places are deep cuts to some people. Some of those places make people go, oh, oh no,
It's over.
like wow. So yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
But anyway,
And
Those poor matte paintings.
poor matte paintings.
dude, it's just so cool though.
No,
Which is
I
very-
adore it.
I love it. I love it. I know what you mean though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's like
The aesthetic that is brought back from the original film is still very much intact in
Yes.
Beneath of the Planet of the Apes, which is one of the things I love about it.
flawed structure and all. It's a very
Aesthetically,
it's very much. It's just like feels like a good
feels like Planet of the
continuation
Apes.
of Planet of the Apes, like in
Absolutely.
that world. You know,
Yes,
before
absolutely.
we fucking hop in the spaceship and go back in time and like whatever. You know?
Well, all that
But,
crap.
okay, but how does it end? How does Beneath the Planet? How does
So
this
there's
end?
like a
Here's-
war that
here's-
but he
here's
meets
what-
up with
now we're talking.
he meets up with Brent meets up with Taylor in like the cell where they're holding like their prisoners. Like it's just them, those two, Nova, Brent, and Taylor. But in the jail cell held by the psychic humans. And I forgot to mention that the psychic humans worship a bomb.
Yes.
That just like they figure out like from the symbols on the side of it that it's the doomsday machine that's going to blow up the whole world. If the buttons
absolutely
push.
terrified me as a kid. Just
Which-
it scared me.
I was kind of thinking of the rationale behind like why that would be invented. I guess it was just like we need peace, therefore we need a bomb that would be like in their warped viewpoint, like at that point of humanity, where it's
Sure.
like if anybody pushes this, it'll blow up the earth, so we can't have like mutually assured destruction.
Three words.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange Love.
No, exactly. It's the
Exactly.
It's a doomsday machine.
Yeah, it's true.
What's the point of having a Doomsday Machine if you don't tell anybody about it?
No, seriously. And they eventually break out. There's actually a very like cool scene where it's like they kind of like they have like opening to get out. They like kill one of the psychics, and the door closes back up, and it's just like, oh fuck. And it's just like one of those moments where it's just like, okay, great. It's like it was like frustrating, but in a good way, where it's like, okay, well, what are they gonna do now? And actually, they get out, but the gorillas pretty much, and it's pretty much established that the only thing that these psychics have to combat the apes is their like visions, like illusions. But Zeus is able to see through that in a very, very 70s sci-fi way, where it's like kind of that kind of Logan's Run era, where it's like the figure of the lawmaker is in the sky and is bleeding and like it's
Right.
like, but as soon as the facade is like revealed, it kind of collapses and on itself, and people are like, oh, it's not real. It's like, let's go.
Sure.
And they invade this underground cavern where the psychics are. And pretty much a war breaks out, like a little thing where it's like they're just killing the psychics. They're trying, because pretty much at this point the psychics are defenseless, so they're blown like the apes are blowing shit up. And there's a point where there's like a reunion of sorts between Taylor and Zeus, a very brief one where
but brutal.
But it's very brutal because of the fact that these are two people who for the entirety of the original movie hate each other's guts.
Yes.
Because Zeus saw all of humanity's hubris in Taylor. He saw nothing but
Wanting destruction.
Yeah, one of the horsemen of the apocalypse, basically just like the ultimate comer of the death of the world, and that's human.
Is the devil's pawn.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like one of those moments where it's just like, and was it because Taylor at this point is shot. He asks him fatally wounded, and he asks for Zeus' help, and he goes, "Why would I help you?"
You ask me to help you? Man is evil, capable of nothing but destruction.
So it's like even in like, I like how hard-headed the gorillas are too. Where it's just like, there's a bomb. I don't know what it is. Let's try
tip
and
it over.
Shoot at it. Tip
it over.
Shoot everything. Kill everything. It's like it very much, and not to interrupt you, but it very much keeps in line with what the original film is. It's like humanity is doomed. But also apes are in some ways no better than men.
Yeah.
They are also destined to repeat man's sins.
Yeah, it's an ignorance. It's like sentient
Ignorance
life
is
will,
bliss.
with enough intelligence, will find the capability of finding within themselves to kill each other and ultimately end it all. You know.
I'm right, you're wrong, fuck you.
Yeah, exactly.
And ultimately, Taylor.
And but before Brent is fucking executed,
absolutely.
like he's mowed
Bullet holes
down.
in his
Brent
face.
gets mowed down.
Dude, no, he's like there's bullet holes in his chest and his forehead, and he just collapses to the ground. It's just like, imagine like the movie's kind of like, okay, it's like, all right, the first half is like, okay, this got weird, you know, where like there's a poignancy to it where it's like, I don't know what's trying to say, but like, god damn it kind of feels like very sure of itself, where it's like the psychics are taking off their like these skin masks, and they reveal I shall reveal my true self, and there's like these kind of irradiated like hairless like beings with like pulsating like veins, and like they look like people without, like they look like muscle, you know.
They look like nuke victims. Almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Like reborn in a way.
Yeah, reborn, but like it's kind of that natural rebirth from kind of like phoenixes from an atomic bomb. Yeah.
It's so interesting.
Yeah, no, it's the psychic. I wonder whose decision that was to be like, yeah, there are humans who are like here this whole time, who develop psychic powers. It's just like, it's such a fascinating.
Of course, that would exist.
Cocaine.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Of course, that would exist in something like Planet of the Apes.
Yeah,
why
you
not?
know
what I mean?
It's all, the name is like inherently somewhat
It's
ridiculous.
expansive.
Yeah, it's expansive. Yeah,
Why not?
yeah. It's like,
Precisely.
why do the same movie over again when people like
Right.
just do something new, throw a curveball, you know? And
Speaking of a curveball.
yeah, imagine being like 10 years old, 8 years old, seeing like one of those GO APE marathons, and seeing the second one, just like Brent, our hero of the movie, got fucking mowed down by apes, and Taylor dying, crawls over to the doomsday button and presses it, fade to white, and how does it go, Brent? Was the
Oh God, I'm definitely paraphrasing.
Don't paraphrase as much as you
here.
want, but get the point across.
But it's you just hear a very calm, nihilistic, deep voice narrator chime in, like, in the small regions of our solar system lies a small, insignificant green planet, is now dead, and it just fades to black and credits.
Like,
And your children are crying.
yeah,
The parents don't know how to comfort them because they're uncomfortable.
they're uncomfortable themselves. They don't know how to react to it either.
You know, it's one of those things where it may not be a better ending than the original, but it might be more shocking.
Yeah.
It definitely made me sit down for a very long time after I saw it for the first time as a kid, when I was getting into the movies as like a 13-year-old kid, and I was just fresh off of experiencing the first one and how nihilistically
nihilistic, yeah.
true and just iconic, but just so dark and real, and like that original ending is absolutely a masterpiece.
Yep.
But this ending is different in a way where it just like you see it happen. Like what was implied at the end of the
Yeah.
first movie, you see it happen at the end of this, and it's so just so final. Like
Yeah.
it's so
It's
just like
the fucking world blows up.
it's
Period.
done.
The
Period.
end.
The end. And it's
Finn.
it's like where do you even go from there? And they still did go places. But it's just like this is one of those movies where it's like you really either are gonna vibe with it or you're not, because it really. Well, it's basically essentially a remake in the first act. It's
Yeah.
Well, still, you see like the Coliseum of Apes. You know, you get to sort of find out more things about the
weird
apes
training
culture.
grounds where they
There's
use
some-
humans as
There's like good dialogue. There's like there's good writing, and
Dialogue is still pretty rich.
Yeah.
It still feels
great
like
lines.
Zeus. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
great lines.
Where it's like Zira pretends that Cornelius hit her. And
Oh,
he's
yeah.
like, oh, it was nothing. It was just
Right.
like, it was like, if like it was something like it leads to a line where it's like, I'll hit her again.
Right.
So
No,
it's funny,
exactly.
you
There's
know?
some good
Cheeky.
stuff. Ben, what do you think?
So, first of all, I think my favorite line is from Zira, where she's talking about like, oh, those stupid gorillas. She says, "Our child will be fed with breast and not bile." I love that line.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, but
yeah.
the first half I was like, okay, Okay. Because like I didn't read anything. I don't know what this is.
Sure.
So the first scene with Brett and that dying astronaut, he should have been the protagonist. His acting was great. The guy, he's like, I never see my family. Like he's like tears, and then it's like he would have been a better protagonist. But
I feel like, it was like he had one scene. And it was like, I'm gonna fucking act the shit out of that scene.
I got this one try. But so for most part, I was like, okay, there's some great lines. I really I love two characters of the scientists.
Oh, Roddy McDowall and Kim Hunter.
Those are my favorite characters in the whole series.
Oh yeah, they're great.
Oh, absolutely.
I love them.
They're standouts.
Zira Cornelius.
They're clear standouts. Yeah.
And then when we get underground, we see the subway. Okay, that's cool. And then we meet like the psychic humans, and I go, oh, they're just people.
Sure.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
All this build up. Okay, whatever. And then like, by the way, they're just psychic jigsaws. It's like, listen, I don't kill people, but you kill yourselves.
Right.
Even though they're forcing them to kill it. It's like it's Jigsaw from Saw, but psychic.
Right.
It's like it's more like the moral code of Saw.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, I'm not killing
I'm not a
people.
murderer.
I'm not killing them.
I can't help but give in to the weirdness of
No,
it all
me too.
and the
But
bizarreness.
Here's
and,
the thing,
and,
like, so at first I was like, okay, psychic humans, fine. And then they're doing that scene of praying to the bomb. Like, okay, this is cool. I like choir and organ music. Now he says something like, we're going to reveal our true selves.
Yeah.
Wait, whoa, what the fuck? And then like they rip and they're like, oh.
Yeah, no.
And I remember looking over it and I was like, what the fuck just happened? And then I was on board
Sure.
completely.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck yeah.
For
That
sure.
cathedral scene was just like, there's a shot of people with like radiation, like no skin, like makeup to make it look like they have no skin on, in robes, wearing masks of their faces, in front of like a bullet bomb.
Yes.
Like,
For sure.
What the fuck?
sure.
I love it.
It's just fantastic. Like this movie has a lot of very zany out there ideas.
Oh, yeah.
And whether they all correlate together, that's
It's up for personal preference.
it's up for your personal. Yeah, exactly, because like it's one of those things where if you are able to go through the motions of the first act and get through some of the speed bumps and road curbs of kind of just going
been there,
rinse,
done
repeat,
that.
been there, done that, all that crap.
Well, the
but
first I think you need that though.
sure,
Because like without that, it almost doesn't feel like an Apes movie. If it goes right to people with testicle heads with giant
Right.
bomb in the ground,
Well,
it's almost like, wait, what? So the fact it starts off Planet of the Apes and then gradually goes into psychic
so.
I agree with
weirdos
you
in the
there.
ground.
I would have preferred it to have just been a little bit more than just we have
We have the
George
same
Taylor
plot beats, yeah.
or George Taylor. We have we have
Yes.
yes, precisely
George Taylor.
We have like our
Astronaut
lookalike
guy.
Charlton Heston lookalike from the first movie.
Yeah, just going through the same
with
motions.
Zira again and Cornelius and Nova, and it's just kind of what are we doing here?
Because you're cutting the runtime of the original film in half and trying to remake it in that first half. There's not as much of that emotional resonance,
Right.
Which begs the question of why do it in the first place, other than to justify, we're easing people into this fucked up world, you know?
Yeah, I think they should have at least done like if he found the subway first and then found the apes, because like he knows that this is a doomed planet, but he thinks it's inhabitable, and then he finds the apes. That's more. To me, it would have been different. I mean,
It would have been paced better.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
pacing of that whole first act to me
Was
has always
just,
been pretty janky.
Yeah,
It's always been
it's,
of
it's
like
always the worst part about the movie.
for sure. It is a slight chore to get through, but when they finally go beneath the Planet of the Apes, as we joked about earlier, and Brent finally does have a discovery that he's on Earth, and he has his Statue of Liberty moment, if you will, and I just remember the first time I saw that scene, and on my most recent rewatch, it became my favorite scene in the movie because it was just so visual in its storytelling. Like it like what I was saying before, like you see all these different things that are so that are familiar, that are even more got down to earth and grounded, than, no pun intended, than something like the Statue of Liberty. Exactly, which is super
grand,
this big grand epic thing that makes you go, oh my god, not the Statue of Liberty, but something like the train station that you always went to every single day in New York will make you go, oh no, not that.
It makes it a bit more personal.
It does make it a bit more personal, and like I feel that in the performance. It's like the only time in the movie where I felt the protagonist performance the entire time. You know, when he's really, you know, taking it all in and saying, oh, we finally really did it. You know,
this is the place I used to go to work.
Yeah, it's
exactly.
like I used to work here. You know,
it definitely kind of digs in deeper. What that original ending was implying, and I really like that scene because of that. So when that scene happens, that's when I'm locked in, and then everything else that happens after that, the weirdness, the quirkiness, the zaniness, it all works for me.
Oh yeah,
it really does, because Planet of the Apes in general is just a very weird, odd concept. It is literally written by the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, it's like it was Kickstarter. The whole idea of it was like what it is today was molded by Rod Serling.
Precisely.
You know?
If you can accept talking apes with their own religions and cultures and can have jobs and speak perfect English, you can definitely open up your imagination a little bit and accept some psychic humans that worship a nuclear bomb, because that's really cool, and it's also really eerie the way it's handled in the movie. Because it just, the performance on all those humans is very like, it's almost like
cold.
Yeah, very cold, very just very non-responsive, very, almost like so not human in a way. And the apes are so very much human, which is interesting.
The apes are kind of like our mere reflection, where it's like, okay, it's like just like they're in our shoes now.
The apes are who we are, and the psychic humans are who we think we are. Because we think we're all these advanced, super amazing scientists.
That's such a great way to put it.
But the apes are just stupid, and they're like, "Oh, I don't like that. Let's tip it over." Fuck it.
Yeah, that's kind of true. Where it's like there's basically the psychics, despite being massacred in the end, they're like kind of higher beings, you know.
Sure.
I can see that. Yeah. I'm just kind of glad the movie went there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Decided like it did. I just like was just like this kind of sequel would never get greenlit today.
No.
No.
I mean, maybe if it was like an independent movie, but not like a big
not
studio.
Like 20th Century Fox.
Yeah.
You know?
Sorry, 20th Century Studios, Noah, please.
Exactly. Especially at the time, you know, branding was a big one.
Yeah. And it just
studio branding.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just like it went in so many ways. It's went in so many places that like, does it like work all? Like it could be argued it doesn't really work that well, but I'm just glad
as a
you
complete
took that
package.
risk.
No,
as a complete package, it doesn't work great.
No.
But this rewatch, watching that second half, I was just like, I'm in. You know,
sure.
I'm like sucked into this because I am just like giving myself over to the movie's madness. Yes. You know,
I love weird shit.
Oh yeah,
and like the moment, literally the second I saw him slight pulling on the mask, I was like, yes. I don't know what they look like, but I'm in. And then they look like church-going Deadpools. I'm there. I'm with like weird testicle. They look tame Tisbel man with no skin. Like, you know, like
exactly.
Yeah, like,
like
the process of
like
him,
it's just humans with no skin, basically.
A little bit like Hollow Man, but not CG.
Yes, and I just love how they're very hateable too.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
They're very
so
smug. They're so full of ego. Yeah,
it's like the chimps. They're too stupid. We can't even breach their skulls. They're too thick skulls. It's like
no,
you guys
they just kind of
suck.
saw through your thing. You know,
I know. It's just
exactly. It's just like that.
I just love how much I hate them. They're just such pieces of shit.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. You kind of like to see their downfall, but also it's just like it came. The battle for humanity is the battle for Earth is not like humans defending like the Earth from aliens, like in War of the Worlds, or like something like it's not like Earth versus the Flying Saucer, where it's like the Great American Flag is going to defeat or like Independence Day. Like no, the final battle that occurred on Earth was a bunch of pissed off gorillas that were fighting psychics, and a dying man blew up the Earth.
It was apes tipping over a thing.
Yes.
And a dying man hitting a button.
Yeah, no.
That's how the world's gonna end.
That was how the world ends, you know?
And just hearing you say it that way, like, I guess just as a kid watching it and just knowing that piece of information, like, so this is how the world really ended. Something about it was very scary to me.
Oh, of course.
And the ending really, really affected me in that way. I think, like you guys are saying, the second act picks up.
Yeah.
The second and third act really are just like a cavalcade of like of just weirdness and bizarreness and just but so weirdly in line with the thematic subtext of that original film. And the Apes movies have really kind of all been subtext and thematic driven in a sense. They've all been very kind of high concept driven, story driven. And I just think this is one of those pick your poison situations. It's like you either are gonna really vibe with this movie or you're not. It's and you know, like you said, as a complete package, does it work? Not always. The pacing isn't super consistent.
First act is kind of meh.
The first
It
act
is, and our protagonist is not very interesting.
No. He doesn't have the only reason, like said before, was just because like I wonder what this movie would have been like actually if Charlton Heston were more enthusiastic and wanted to be a part of it more. It wasn't just like I want to be, I'll be in it, but as little of it as possible, you know.
He falls down a magical canyon and it leaves the movie.
That was like the worst.
I
effect
saw all
of the
the
movie.
business compromise in that moment. Absolutely.
Yeah,
but
I still Noah, thank you for making me watch it. Like, listen, like I put stuff off way too much, so I don't know if when I would get
same.
So the fact that because like I just remember like this is one of those magical moments, like I needed Noah there to appreciate it because I remember looking at it, he was like, this is kind of the first day I was like, this is kind of something. Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it is a little slow. Yeah, it is.
That's great.
And I was like, okay, oh yeah, these characters. Yeah, it's like, oh cool, that's a cool set. And then oh my fuck,
it just keeps unraveling itself.
The
It never
movie's
lets
like
up.
it's like the movie's poking like a pin in your brain sometimes,
Right.
where it's just like
yeah.
It's just like prodding like this area of like imagination that like you didn't think was possible, but like you didn't. It really depends on if you feel comfortable with that pin in your brain.
Right.
So,
Sure.
You know?
And also, there's one thing I saw that I really liked is at the end when all the apes are storming the psychic's lair or whatever. There's a great moment I saw where like all the apes stop and they're smashing.
They're because I can't imagine somebody like has like that kind
blasphemy.
of like, no, it's the blasphemy
Disgusting.
thing where it's like, oh, get rid of these statues of the humans, you know.
Also, the fact that like the main
fantastic.
psychic's like, watch as I show Pete and like shoot him.
Yeah.
Like the big grand guy, he's doing like his speech or whatever. He's like, all right, he's dead.
What are you gonna do?
done.
Shoot me, get shot.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's
Yeah,
so
it's-
great. It
it's-
just gets bonkers, and all the better for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just like I remember my mouth was just hanging open. Like, oh my, what the? It was like, how are they gonna save the day? Like, because like
No, truly.
I thought like they're shooting at the apes. They're like trying to stop them from tipping over the thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then Brett, and then what's his name?
Brent. Yeah.
Brent gets shot in the head. I was like, oh my god, how's Charlton Heston? He's gonna be like, stop, fellow Earthlings.
The speechers.
He's like the great American, like we must
like-
be Americans or whatever the fuck. And then he's like, fuck it.
And then he gets shot too.
Well,
and
it's
then-
also Nova. I think Nova was his
Nova
tipping
was
point.
killed. That was the tipping point.
And like
too,
he's like,
where,
he's
kinda
like,
That's
we
one of
never
the-
change.
That's one of my least favorite moments in the
Really?
movie. Is,
When
no,
Nova
they
speaks.
fumbled the bag on Nova's first words.
Oh,
She
just
says Taylor's name.
well, I mean, it makes
I don't know
sense
if it
because he's
was
trying
the-
to teach her.
Exactly. I understand because it's like she's probably never. This is like her first time talking ever, so she's probably gonna
Sound weird.
sound weird. I don't know if it was just the actress's delivery on it just didn't feel
it just
like
didn't feel
it
that.
didn't sell that.
It wasn't
to
the
me. I
it
didn't
wasn't the
believe
no
it.
moment in Rise.
No, it wasn't, or even something like even like the original when
Yeah, no,
take your
no.
stinking paws
Oh, no.
off.
That's one of the best scenes in any movie.
Eh,
Just-
eh,
Oh no, it
ever,
is.
so-
Yeah.
Yeah, they fumbled the bag on that for me a
Yeah.
little bit. That's probably my least favorite moment. I was
Okay.
like, oh
Okay.
boy.
that's fair.
Yeah.
But no, I once she gets axed off, that's you definitely are really feeling it because that was Heston's, that was his,
That was her-
that was
it was-
his,
it was one
you know,
it was his connection
his
to, like,
only connection to
humanity.
what home felt like.
But
to
yeah,
him.
exactly.
And that was taken away from him, so he genuinely had nothing to lose in his last moments. So It's very powerful stuff.
No, yeah, it's like it's rated G.
Rated G.
It's
Enjoy
part
your
of-
Sunday matinee.
Yeah, exactly.
G
It's
for
like-
gore.
G for gore.
Dude,
yeah, precisely.
no, it's just like
bloody.
the main character gets gunned down in a hail.
I
There's
can't
also,
get over that.
Wait, no, never mind.
It's killed in a
There's a
hail of
different one.
gunfire, dude. And like they show like the
Bullets
exit
is like-
wound, the
he's like
entrance
twitching down the
wounds.
wall.
Yeah, dude.
He's like
it's so-
he
like-
looks like he's genuinely like dying and
Yeah.
tweaking. Like
Yeah, no.
it's really
I was
bad.
looking at that. I'm just like, what the fuck? It's just,
Right.
I still can't believe they did that. You know.
So sadistic.
But
Yep.
yeah,
the movie had some balls.
no, dude. It has
Titanium
serious.
testicles.
It has
let me
the
tell you.
gall
Absolutely.
to do what it did. I applaud it. What would you guys rate Beneath the Planet of the Apes?
I gave it let me refresh my memory. This is all I always do. I always forget what I rate movies. Mm-hmm. I gave it a 3.5.
Gotcha.
It's always been teetering on 3 to 3.5 to me.
Yeah.
I think I'm leaning towards 3 right now because it's always been one of like, if I were to rank the franchise, it's always been like right in the middle for me. So it's always a question of, do I prefer Beneath over Rise, or they're almost neck and neck for me in terms of quality. But it's like a question of, do I prefer a cookie cutter 2010s origin story right now, or do I want something weird and cool and zany and more in tune with the original film?
Yeah.
I think right now I'd probably say the latter. So
Yeah.
I think I'd probably lean towards a 3. It's kind of perfectly 50-50 for me.
Okay, yeah. For me, it's definitely a strong 3.
Absolutely.
Because there was a point where I was just like, okay, now everything about not everything about this works. It's not like it's not like
It's not a masterpiece.
it's not
No.
no, God no. But I feel like it has enough going for it where it's like it kind of
It's
earns
fun
that.
as hell.
Dude, it's just like I just like the experimentation of it, and I just wish we got more of that from movies nowadays that are sequels to films that for a film that technically really for all intents and purposes didn't really need to exist.
Sure, absolutely.
I'm glad it exists
Me
I
too.
can, yeah. But yeah, 3 for me. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So check it out.
Yeah.
Check it out. Yeah, watch it. We all recommend it. It sounds like.
It's fucking dope.
Yeah, absolutely.
So moving on to our next film, Conquest
Oh.
of the Planet of the Apes.
So this is my pick for the episode. This was kind of why I wanted to do an Apes themed episode to begin with, because I've just always wanted to talk about this movie.
Yeah.
So like I said, I've had history with it, but basically the plot of it is it's almost like a spiritual inversion of the original film. Apes have been enslaved by humanity. The previous events from the last film, which was Escape from the Planet of the Apes, which super quick thoughts. It's fine. It's nothing about it's super special to me. It's tonal whiplash incarnate. The ending is pretty strong. I think a lot of the Apes movies have endings that are very strong.
Oh, yeah.
The majority of them do. And Escape definitely does. We are fresh off of our original characters of Zira and Cornelius from the original 2 films are killed at the end of Escape from the Planet of the Apes, and their newborn son is saved and hidden at a circus. And this movie explores the older version of that son. So we're years into the future, probably something like a little maybe over
1999.
1999.
1991, excuse me.
Oh yes, absolutely. The movie opens with 1991, and we see an ape come into frame wearing an orange jumpsuit, and we see a very large group of law enforcement bringing in the large group of enslaved apes as the opening credits roll, which is very powerful opening shot. It is very the movie wears its statement on its sleeve, I think, is what I'm getting across here. But as the movie goes on, we meet our protagonist, Cesar, who, as most people know, Cesar is the protagonist of the Cesar trilogy, the Matt Reeves Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, War of the Planet of the Apes, the Andy Serkis trilogy. But this is the original Cesar, played by Roddy McDowall, the same actor who played Cornelius. Masterfully acted in this film, might I add. He is being led by his owner, Armando, I think is his name.
I think so.
Armando. And his owner is kind of taking us through what I was just explaining. He's sort of giving the audience a reminder of like, hey, this is why the world is the way it is. We see that cats and dogs have been completely wiped out because of a certain virus that has broken out because of certain like apes and the certain things that happened because of the last apes that came to Earth, and it's not perfectly explained. The movie very much wants to put the imagery in your face and be like, this is what the movie is about. Here is some exposition for you to kind of give you a reminder, but it's not super important. Don't worry about it. The point is cats and dogs are dead, so deal with that. And apes are enslaved. The world sucks. And it's very powerful. It's very powerfully crafted. And you really feel for Cesar as he's kind of taking in all the realities of the world as his owner is taking him through the city, and eventually they end up in front of, I can't even remember. Is it like
it's like a protest against like, it's like kind of like a union thing where it's like they don't like the fact that they're being replaced by like basically slave labor.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, so there's not everybody agrees with what's happening with the apes, but for the majority, everyone pretty much is like apes need to be enchained and they need to be enslaved and treated as pets and all this stuff, and servants. And you just see them getting brutally beaten by law enforcement and government officials, and it's very powerful imagery. It's definitely the most nihilistic in the franchise. It's a very brutal watch to get through, but as they end up at that point in the story, Cesar witnesses an ape getting beaten by humans, and he speaks. He acts, and nobody is supposed to know that Cesar exists. He's supposed to be hiding from the world. Nobody's supposed to know that apes can even talk. They can even be intelligent. Any of that crap. And all of a sudden, he speaks. He lets it out. He blurts out, "Lousy human bastards!" And they eventually, long story short, they take in Armando because they think Armando spoke it, and they're like, "Does your human speak? Well, maybe we ought to take you into the interrogation room." And Cesar somehow gets away, and Armando finds him. He's like, "Oh no, Cesar, you're okay. Like it's fine. You just thought what I was saying." So not everybody agrees with what the humans have done to apes. It's very clearly drawn out. Is like, this is a very layered world. It's very complicated. It's not dissimilar to our own realities. It's dystopian. It's absolutely dystopian. It's a dystopian reality, and it's a nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, it's a fascist state too.
For sure.
It's like, what's the villain's name again? He's like
Chief Inspector Governor guy.
He's just like the governor dude, And I love the fact
we'll talk about him.
We'll talk about him, but I do like how multifaceted this world is. It's just like the way it's shot is just like so Orwellian. It's just like, I don't think, if I remember correctly, there's not like a single shot of like the fucking sky, like the clear sky, It's like always like the oppressive, like
skyscrapers.
All the oppressive skyscrapers kind of towering, like blocking our view of like any serenity. It's a bunch of concrete, glass, and steel, and that kind of
everything's a prison.
It's shot like a prison film, even if it's like in outdoor spaces. It feels so claustrophobic, and I love that about it.
And very sci-fi. The set design of this film is so distinct. It's so unique. It's so sharp, and like there's a lot of sharp lines. Even in the shadows, like the shadows create very distinct lines, and everything is very kind of like you were saying, very industrial, corporate, like not very welcoming. It's not you don't like you don't like this location.
No.
You wouldn't want to live there at all.
No.
Like it's all very, well, it's exactly what Dr. Zaius's philosophy of humans was. It's they are the devil's pawn. They will destroy what they create. They will enslave. They will be. They're horrible beings.
Yeah.
And we don't just get a taste of that in this movie. We see it.
You see a mouthful.
It's not Rise of the Planet of the Apes, where it's just like some failed science experiments where the apes were treated unjustly and maybe poked with sticks and with hoses and things like that. No, the apes in this movie are truly unjustly like segregated in a way. But it is all, everything about it is so clearly wrong, and nobody has to say it's wrong. Like nobody has to say this is bad. You're watching it, you're just taking it all in, and you're just like, wow, this is not good at all. Like it makes it very easy when the government is interrogating Armando about Cesar, and they drive him damn near to insanity because technically he is lying, but he has to because they're going to kill Cesar. But they drive him to insanity. They make him into this primal thing to where he has no other option but to kill himself. Once he does that, and Cesar finds out after Cesar's been, apprehended by the government and taken into this ape prison, if you will, which is my favorite set in the entire
reconditioning room.
The reconditioning room, and it's my favorite set in the entire film. It's amazing. It is like so sci-fi futuristic enough, but so 70s.
Yeah,
and it's so beautifully shot and so beautifully crafted. The way that he's just looking at all the rooms, and we just see what's going on. It's very visual. The music is great. It's not overbearing. It's very dark. It's very eerie. It takes itself seriously without being too silly, without being too over the top with it.
It strikes a balance about like being like a watchable film. What I mean by watchable is just like, I can I don't have to I'm not wincing and I'm not physically repulsed by those things on screen. I'm observing. I'm disturbed by it.
Sure.
And but I can still watch the film and be take it in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Eventually we and amidst all this we have our antagonist who is I believe he's the governor.
Yeah, he's the governor of the state. Yeah.
And he's very in a lot of cases a very one-note villain.
Oh yeah.
He hates the apes because he hates the apes. It's very, but he's very easy to hate. He very much comes across as a fascist dictator that probably would exist in a world like this. In order for something like this to happen, I feel like somebody like that in power would have to exist. and from all the information that humanity found out from the last film, you can somewhat sort of understand from a human perspective why he would want to take such drastic measures. Yeah. But it's evil, and it's obviously not just affecting the apes, but it's affecting the humans as well, because Armando, his fate was because of what the humans were doing to him.
Yeah, exactly.
So at this point, there's no hope for humanity.
No. Oh no.
And it's all power hungry. It's all ego driven, and he is the embodiment of that. Basically, he's much
personification of it.
He's basically what Zaius feared Taylor would ultimately become at the end if Taylor ultimately got control of the planet again.
It's unfortunate. It's a hard pill to swallow.
Absolutely, and you get somewhat of his motivations towards the end of the film when the apes ultimately start their revolution and capture him and everything.
It's kind of like an act of desperation where he's just he's kind of his fear with stoicness, where he's just where he's trying to keep control, but it's really satisfying to make him see him lose that control because of the fact that he was so calculated. He's the keeper of this unjust peace.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's so interesting. And all of these things are so interesting about him, but I don't know his name.
Yeah, no,
because he's just so one note to the point where it's just okay, there's not much beneath the surface there, and I don't know if there needs to be because it's all in service of Cesar.
Yeah,
because once Cesar does start his revolution,
it's insane.
You are fully behind it.
Yeah.
You fully are behind the apes. You want to see the apes absolutely annihilate the humans, and when it does happen, it's very cathartic.
Oh yeah,
and it makes
great.
And it makes you think to yourself, I like the fact that the apes are taking control of the planet. Why?
Yeah.
Why? Well, because the humans were wrong. And the Apes movies, what have they always been about since the original? Humanity is always doomed to repeat their past sins, and they're doomed to fail. And they are doomed to be taken over. And they're destined to be taken over by something.
Yeah.
And I just love how this movie just outright shows that, but it's not overly loud about it.
No.
There's so many quiet moments in this film that are just, all you hear are footsteps, and it's night shots. It's beautiful. It's just beautifully framed. The lighting is just so
it's so stark. It's kind of almost
it really
noir
is.
sometimes.
It's rich. Yes, absolutely. The shadows are just so beautiful and eerie and just there's so much personality within the frame of this movie, and it's truly probably the most beautifully shot in the franchise since the original for me.
Oh yeah.
I just think they really captured something creepy, something dystopian, something that's so true to what our own reality could eventually end up being, without being so heavy-handed about it, like in something like Rise of the Planet of the
visually
Apes.
oh yeah, it's just like,
You know what I mean?
It's like, oh, this is like, it's trying to be like blockbuster, like, oh, look at experimentation. It's like, oh, most humans aren't that bad. It was a virus that wiped us out.
Right.
The bad apples were the exception to the rule. It's like with Conquest, the cruelty is the rule.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. And after the apes, after the whole battle sequence happens, which arguably goes on pretty long. And it's,
I'm not complaining.
I'm not either. It's very cathartic, and it's all very well shot, and it's all very well crafted and everything. But as soon as Roddy McDowall is able to give the monologue as to why he is doing what he's doing for the apes in this movie, it is probably my favorite acted scene in the entire franchise. Yeah. He just bears his soul. He's so primal with the way he talks about how humans are just they're horrible and apes are gonna take over and like there's nothing you can do about it. Like there's like tomorrow it'll be too late, and I like that the human character McDonald is able to reason with him in a way because of who he is. He can relate to Cesar on that level. He's like, as a descendant of slaves, I'm asking you to show humanity. But Cesar says, I was not born human. And that's the difference between this Cesar and the Cesar of the Apes, the new Apes trilogy. Yeah. The Andy Serkis Cesar gains more humanity, all the best parts about humanity, the more intelligent he gets. This Cesar he gets nothing but he doesn't get humanity.
No, okay.
He fully rejects anything that humans have to offer, and he's like, I only fight for the apes, and it's going to be a planet of apes that is rid of humans, of anything that could be remotely
a threat,
that could remotely even remind you of a human.
Yeah, no.
And it's so powerful, and it's one of the best like name drops of a title in a movie.
And they're all belong to a planet of apes.
It's absolutely just so well done, and it's gory. It's the uncut version is
the only version that should be watched.
Absolutely, it's a complete package.
Because like I haven't seen the theatrical ending. But in that, like, I think they like made him like reshoot it, where it's like they show mercy to the villain. Right. Fuck
Doesn't
no,
work. Doesn't
fuck that.
work.
No, they in the original version they beat him to death with the butts of the rifles.
It's so nihilistic, but it's so cathartic, and it's like you as an audience member, you feel weird about it because you're happy that he's getting his consequences, but also you're like, this isn't necessarily good. Yeah. Like that's
because what is this saying about humanity?
Absolutely, Ben. What do you think? I could go on forever. I got through the plot while also singing its praises. What do you think, Ben? As kind of a newcomer to the franchise.
This was weird. This is a weird one.
It's a weird one.
Because I didn't have the context of the last. Noah went for like a 1 minute summary of, okay, the scientists went back in time, they fucked, they died, their kid, bam. Go.
I love that you just skipped over escape. It's great.
I do like how the kid was hinted at in Beneath, where
that's true.
Where Zira's like, like you said, with like when I have like my son, you know.
Yeah.
I love it.
So this is a whiplash. It was like, all right, we go from jungles to ball sack people to 1984 in one movie. Okay, sure.
That's Planet of the Apes, man.
Yeah. So I'm watching it. I was like, okay, because first of all, the acting of Cesar, beautiful.
Yeah. Roddy McDowall's a genius.
Just the body language acting and eye movement is all.
The physicality is there.
Yeah. So That's great. I love the fact that the villain's right. It's like, yeah, if we don't kill this ape, we're gonna die. Surprise!
Yes.
Because like I said, no, this is a time paradox series.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the fact that Planet of the Apes happened is because the Planet of the Apes happened, because they went back in time. This is like, which I love paradox. They're so much fun. But
me as well.
yeah. I love the fact that his circus owner, the actor, he's in Freakazoid.
Really?
Oh my god!
He's a
I
villain in
didn't know
Freakazoid.
that
He
at
seems
all.
like a Freakazoid voice.
You are the weenie.
I did not know that at all.
He's
That's awesome.
awesome.
So like the moment he's like, oh fuck, he's in Freakazoid. but yeah, I loved him. I was into it, but I wasn't like in love with it. I was like, oh, this is good. But the moment Cesar finds out he died, like, when he sees he's like, well, he finds out, he goes out to the poster of the circus, just like he starts screaming and he stops himself. And he's like shaking around. He looks like he doesn't know what to do. That part I loved. I really only have two main complaints. I felt like the revolution just happens.
Yeah.
Sure.
It just immediately like, all right,
Sure.
I got an army right now.
Yeah, no. Just to take that out of your hand, it's just like, it definitely feels like a chunk of the movie was taken out.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, now these apes are following his orders, Yeah. All of a sudden. Okay. I can forgive that for the most part.
There's a time cut, whatever.
Yeah, it's like, but I could have used a longer movie, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it because I think at that point all of the apes are just so like now that they know they have a leader that's going to like lead them to like they have somebody to follow to stand up to the humans, and since we've seen how horrible the humans have treated, this is like one of the worst portrayals of humanity I've ever seen in a movie. Like no human is like, you want every person in this movie to die. Every single,
aside from like
aside
the one
from
circus
the one
and
nice
McDonald,
the circus guy and
the one
Mr.
nice guy was
McDonald.
driven to suicide.
Yeah, it's like the one person you didn't want. Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. I think at that point, it's like, yeah, like the apes are like, oh fuck yeah, let's go. Like, and there's still apes who are like, all right, that one's talking. It's like I think at that point you really are really just in it, and you're so wanting this to happen. But I totally understand. It really does feel like, oh, now we have an army, and oh my god,
it's not bad. It's just jarring.
It is jarring.
Definitely, there's
a hard cut.
I
There's
agree.
a hard cut to like,
And then it's like a
him
weird
just
like
looking at the
the
apes,
apes
and
like
just
look
be
around.
There's
Caesar's
like,
right over there.
It's like,
Which is kind of funny because it's like there's every shot is just them turning around and Caesar's right over there, and then they start doing shit.
It's not implied there's a passage of time either. It's kind of like a day or two after, like
Sure.
he kind of has that like breakdown once Armando dies.
Yeah,
sure.
So that's my other flaw. I thought, like you said, like the ending fighting was way too long. Like it got repetitive.
Really?
Fair enough.
I feel like it was just like
Well,
okay.
in terms of like them outside the buildings, where it's like ape sneak around, jump, and then beat, and like the beating is not like it was like I feel like watching, because in school like I watched like a thing on for class, we watched a thing on like primates, like gorillas are fucking scary. Like like I wanted like gorillas to like rip people because like they're wearing armor still, so they just kind of like hit, move on.
Would you have wanted like a Suicide Squad scene where like he rips like a gorilla rips a guy in half with like
I wanted
that would have been pretty cool
because like the gorillas are fucking scary. Like I wanted like rip off someone's arm and throw it through a window.
That would probably give it an R though.
Yeah, I know, but like
For sure.
where it's like
The kids don't want to watch the cartoon after that.
you know what? I didn't think about that.
They don't want to buy the Dr. Zayas toy. Yeah. Stop. Our business is going down.
Yeah, but I mean, and like aside from that, like I thought this was a pretty masterful film. There was there was something else I can't remember. It was something
the
to do.
female ape. Why?
I guess because
the one that Cesar takes a liking to.
The character who ends up not being a character in
that ends up not being a Nova. It's like,
it's
but you
like,
think it's going to be a Nova, but
like
it's
not.
not.
A cross between Nova and Zira a little bit, but it's like
there's no conclusion to it, which is my issue to it. Yeah.
Did he fuck her? Like, who knows?
No clue.
I was also hoping at the end when he's giving a speech, like the apes would start talking.
Sure.
Because like they're just apes.
Yeah.
Because I was hoping they start to like pick up his mannerisms, walk a little taller. Because he's walking with this guy at the beginning, he's like, "You gotta crouch down more."
Yeah.
Because you're walking with me, you started to.
Yeah.
So I was hoping they'd start like acting more like Cesar, stand up taller, be more like. I mean, I get it.
I feel it's a matter of like that would happen generationally.
I know,
Sure.
but it just feels like if they made the apes get smarter, I get why they'd start following him more. Because
I think the moment that happens for the apes is when they all decide that they're gonna beat the villain to death.
Yeah.
I think that's when they all give in to not just their ape instinct, but their human instinct of,
Yeah.
oh, we actually have a choice. We can either kill this guy or not. That's a very human thing to do, and that's like the first time we see the apes actually do anything that seems remotely. Like that was like a human choice out of like out of just pure hatred and like just revenge. That I feel like that was that moment for me. So I get what you're saying too, because that would have been interesting to see some of the apes sort of pick up some visual mannerisms. Could have been a little bit of some setup and payoff. So
All right, hold on 1 second. Hold on.
Pausing.
Commercial
It doesn't have
break.
pause.
Mego presents the Planet of the Apes action figures. Dr. Zaius, the orangutan scientist. Cornelius, the archaeologist. Zira, the woman scientist. The soldier ape. And the astronaut. All Planet of the Apes action figures sold separately by Mego.
I do. Well, what were we talking about? No, it's like
Back on the train.
Back
of
on the
thought.
train of
The
thought.
whole ending of the film where the apes, where we were just talking about how we were wondering when, like, is there a moment where the apes are actually
where they, like, evolve
starting to
beyond.
becoming like human-like a little bit? Is there like a distinct moment like that in the film?
Yeah.
And to me, it's
the beating.
the very ending is the beating. It could be where they all start following Cesar, but I feel like that's just more like their primal instinct of like, oh, follow the alpha. We have to, and we have to protect each other, and like, because they don't like the apes continuously run towards the humans as they're pointing guns at them. If they knew not to do that and be human-like, they would run the opposite direction. But they don't. They wait to get shot. But yeah, so I don't know. And like, you just see them listening to Cesar, and I feel like you could sort of see just the way they're listening to him. They're like sort of like. You can see the gears are turning in there.
Yeah.
They're turning. It's subtle.
Yeah, it's subtle, yeah.
That's another thing why I love this movie so much. A lot of it is just really subtle.
Yeah.
There's so many subtle like nods and references to the whole franchise, like the whole like no like metaphor
no,
where
yeah.
no, like the very first ape said no, and like but it's
no, it's like it's like conditioned into them to like fear people when they say no.
Absolutely. So to me, that's way smartly written. That
That's
like,
so
than
dense,
something like
yeah.
Rise. You know what I mean? So
or it's like
just
average
hot
everyday
take, hot take
blockbuster.
alert.
I'll take your word for it.
No, but Rise is very mid. It's not great.
It's
not-
milk toast.
Milk toast.
Dawn and War are so much better.
Yeah, no.
I'll
Which
take your word.
I prefer this over the entire Caesar trilogy, just solely based on the fact that it really does feel like a spiritual successor to that original film. In every sense of the word, it feels like a filmmaker made a film.
Yeah.
Nothing about it feels studio mandated. Nothing about it feels like there was like any like suits and ties making decisions behind desks. This really felt like some people really had an idea for the apes and how they came to be in our society, and they knocked it out of the park with just the whole sci-fi look to the movie, but the prison aspect to it, the whole industrial look, it's very cold.
Yeah, it's
icy.
It's icy, yeah.
It's mean.
Seeing like but there's a contrast where it's like the grills and I like how the color the jumpsuits are like the prison suits are like color coded too.
Absolutely.
Grills are in red, chimpanzees are green, and orangutans are like orange.
It's like
yellowish.
they didn't have to do that.
No, but it's
they
like,
did.
It's just so it's like it's a movie. Make it like look like just, not just like not in terms of like, but make it look visually appealing.
Absolutely.
Even if it's like cold, like that's something I like looking at it because it's just so fascinating to me.
Well, it's also the fact that those colors crossover to the first film.
Yes.
Because the chimpanzees wear green in the original.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm sorry.
You just blew
No,
my
no,
mind.
no, no. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
he does when he's impressed.
And like those color coding passed down to the generations, I guess.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I really appreciated this film. And again, like I didn't see the previous film Escape, so I don't know. Like the fact that
You don't really need to.
yeah, but the fact that this is so different, but I didn't feel like I was watching like someone slap the name on.
Yes.
Because it felt like Apes take over and they just slapped the name on
Fan film.
Yeah,
yeah.
fan film, or just like, oh, we bought this film overseas, we got a marquee value.
Yep.
Planet of the Apes, Conquest. But no, it felt like it is part of that mythos. It doesn't.
Absolutely.
It doesn't feel like a. Let's just put it. I don't know. Make money.
It's
It,
like-
it feels like a movie.
This is
Genuinely.
like when this genre. It's basically the Saturday matinee to take the kids to. You know.
Yeah.
When a movie of that ilk goes this hard, we're talking about 70s cinema.
Oh,
you know?
absolutely.
It's like
come on.
it's like even like
king.
I love the nihilism of 70s science fiction is just so pre Star Wars, obviously, because that was the tail end of it, but it's just
Absolutely.
so palpable in this. It's so, like you said, it's cold, icy, and it's just like it's just the way it's made is kind of like it sings the heights of what science fiction is capable of, not just in terms of like just kind of the speculate. Science fiction is all about speculation, right? So it's just have a little bit of fun with it while being this movie about
Depressing
how
death.
Absolutely.
pretty much the movie that, weirdly enough, they could also not make today is the fact that all humans are irredeemably the bad guys. You know, there's no redemption for them. There's no
Right.
they approach the movie ends with like the uprising of Caesar. And basically, the future is that, as predetermined by the previous Apes movies, is that the candle of humanity goes out. You know, their days are numbered, basically.
Absolutely.
And that is so poignant because it's so much like I feel like art is supposed to comfort the disturbed the comfort, disturb the comforted, the comfortable. Excuse me.
Yeah.
But in that regard, it's just like it speaks volumes when a film like this is able to of this caliber. It's a franchise is able to be this thing that brings about things about oppression, racism. You know, basically bringing about like, hey, humanity sucks, and there's nothing really much we can do about it because whoever like replaces us will equally be as bad because of their own hubris
Absolutely.
and will have their own problems.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that we are fucked.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's Planet of the Apes in a nutshell.
Absolutely. This
Those
movie
who are
really
good will be
hammers it
killed
in.
by those with power.
Yeah,
Very-
exactly.
very true.
Their tongues will be cut out. You know, it's just like they won't. The complacent are also part of the problem.
Yeah.
And the peacemakers are fighting a losing battle from the get-go with their ambitions.
Yes.
It's a subtextual piece. It's a thematic piece. It's plot driven for the most part, and it hits it out of the park. It really is it's a complete package. It's tight. There's not a lot of fat in it. It gets right to the point.
It's like an hour and 27 minutes.
It's a very quick watch,
Yeah.
but it's a very satisfying watch. It's very cathartic. Like I was saying, like you just really want the apes to
just
do
bam.
their thing. Bam! Absolutely.
Yeah.
It never overstays its welcome,
No.
but it definitely slaps you in the face when it
Yeah.
starts. It's like, hey,
It walks in your house, slaps your face, kicks your dog, and leaves.
that's what it does, and you're just like, oh
But
my
you love
god,
it.
and you love it, and it's absolutely fantastic.
It's just the stark imagery, just that imagery of like in the trailer alone of like the because it's got a great trailer too.
It
where it's
does.
like the humans in riot gear are pretty much like it's like is it like this is not science? This is not science fiction. You know, how they're like firing on like the oppressed. You know,
Absolutely.
Who,
There's definitely moments in that ending battle where it
just like,
feels very shot like documentary-esque. Like it very much has like that sort of feel to it. So
Yes.
very, very powerful stuff. Super
yes.
powerful imagery. Like fantastic. And I love the title too, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. Always love that title. Just very intriguing.
It sets it apart because just like,
It does.
oh, it's the process, it's the downfall of humanity.
I love it so much. I think it's such an interesting title. Very 70s too.
Yeah.
Although there's one last criticism I have.
Please,
I forgot.
Oh, yeah.
please.
I was very hit or miss about the score.
Oh, interesting.
Because like toward the end, when it's like sometimes it works really well.
Sure.
Sometimes it just feels like they got like a bong or like a bunch of. It felt very. For me, it was either very well done or very kind of like out of place.
Fair enough.
For me,
Like the final battle, I wanted the final battle with no music. I want it to just be like gorilla sounds and just beatings. Like, but it's just like
so many
the
of
score-
my favorite moments are the silent moments.
Yeah,
yeah.
because like if there's times where like the big final battle, like it's like I'm watching this really powerful, disturbing imagery, but then the soundtrack is so like weird. I don't know.
I never like. I guess like
overall it really works, but there's times where it felt like kind of like
You would have liked something a little bit better.
like because like the silence would have made it more disturbing. Where it's just
Absolutely.
just
more
the,
absence of it. Okay.
like the echoing sounds of chimpanzees screaming and beating people to death would have been more chilling than
Right.
what they went with. For me personally,
I like the. Oh,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
oh,
Please,
I like
please.
the. I never like found the. Obviously, like I feel like I found the soundtracks of all of the Apes movies that I've seen in the original series, which is like the first four, Battle notwithstanding, is that they're very consistent between each other. There's like they're kind of almost the connected, like kind of like almost the suturing between the movies in
Right.
terms like even though if like a movie like. Even if we like, you know, have if different ones have a different style to them, each one is unique. But like it's kind of that music that kind of
For
sews
sure.
it together. For me, at least, I was never like really thinking about the music, probably because it just felt so familiar to me because it felt not out of place for me watching it as an Apes fan. And like I think about like certain like music cues where like it swells where it's like
Right.
the world belonged to a planet of apes and like they're like blow torching it like the music kind of like I feel like it kind of like drops
Sure.
and they bust through the door. It's just like oh my god, it's so cool. It's like the Star Wars scene, the opening.
Yeah,
You
no,
know?
absolutely. It's interesting because the score for me definitely has a lot of 70s sci-fi sensibilities to it. It definitely feels like it's of that era, but it also it has the heavy drums that definitely remind you of that original film.
Oh yeah.
I can't really recall any like memorable themes from the movie. The movie to me always really has felt like such a kind of like a really quiet revolution.
Yeah.
It's not too loud. It's not.
Yeah.
It wears its message on its sleeve, but it's not too overbearing with it. I always just think back to that scene when Cesar is like hiding from some like two of the guards, and there's no sound besides like the footsteps, the breathing of Cesar, and it's dark and you just see the silhouettes of everybody, and the street lights are the only lighting you see, and it's just it feels like a nightmare. It feels like a bad dream, and and there's no music in it at all. So it's like one of my favorite scenes in the film. So yeah, I would agree there. I think I would have definitely loved some more memorable themes in the film because there's definitely a lot of great cues for sure.
I think partly for me also is that I mean again I didn't watch Escape, so I didn't have that.
Was there even a score in Escape?
Well,
I don't even remember that.
Well, I'm saying so like that film is like the bridge between
It is.
So like for me, going from futuristic jungle world to the fact it kept the same music type felt very weird because it's very different.
Interesting.
It's not. It is Planet of the Apes, but it's still its own thing. Like,
Absolutely.
So if the fact it had the same like kind of like I don't say jungle, but like that kind of like primitive still.
Sure.
It felt kind of like for me it
Contrast didn't always mix well.
yeah, it didn't always fit. It felt like it should have been more like a droning, kind of like a
synth, more of like a
synth
more
or like
synthesizers, like a
John Carpenter, kind of like more like.
Oh, that would have been great.
yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, but instead, again, I've only seen it once. Maybe I'll watch it. I'll like it better. But I'm just saying that first viewing that kind of like took me out of it a little bit because it felt very out of place.
Totally. Yeah, fair enough. The night scenes always gave me Carpenter vibes.
Oh, dude,
just the
It's
way they're
such, like,
shot,
it
how
kinda-
quiet they are,
yeah.
just how spacious they are. Just it's
Gives
so
me like
cold.
Assault of Precinct 13,
Absolutely.
Escape from New York vibes with like the police,
and the colors, like the red colors. And
the blues. It's so good, dude. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. Anyway,
No, yeah, but
ratings.
yeah, I guess I'll start off 4.5. Like honestly, it's like for me, it's like it's gonna maybe hop between like a 4 and 4, but on this viewing 4.5.
Okay.
4.5.
I like it.
What'd you give it?
I also gave it a 4.5. It always has been. It's definitely not like perfect. It has faults.
Yes.
Like even me. Like it's my second favorite in the franchise, and I don't necessarily like the female ape that Cesar takes a liking to. The score could have been better. Absolutely. I think there's certain discourse around like the theatrical versions and the uncut versions that sort of maybe could be a turnoff for certain people of the movie. But no, overall, I mean, from what I like in my sci-fi stories, especially in my sci-fi stories, and as an Apes fan and just as a fan of film, like it just this really kind of gives me everything I could ask for. Like just suspense. It's fun. It's dark. It's heartbreaking. It's true to our own world. It wears its message on its sleeve, but it's not over the top. It has beautiful shots. There's quiet moments. There's
Brilliant acting.
Just great, really good dialogue, might I add. Just
really
good
good dialogue, the dialogue, particularly in the first film and Conquest, is just
so good.
It's so specific to its genre. It's just so intelligent, but it's done in a way where it's so accessible, though.
Absolutely,
it's just so easy to just like, not like. It's just so dense.
Yeah,
because
absolutely. You feel smarter listening to these characters talk.
Yeah. That's one problem I have with like Star Wars. As much as I love the first two Star Wars, it's just like the strong point.
It is
it's pulp. The strong point is
these are not that.
The strong point is not the scripts. You know,
no,
in terms of
that's pulp, and this is Shakespeare.
In terms of science fiction, like genre stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I love the nihilism. I just love how much more honest it is about how it feels about us.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is nihilistic, but I like it's not like there is hope.
Yeah, there's
the apes are fighting for a future. Where it's like they're fighting for a good cause. It's just that we know that cause is going to go to shit.
Yeah, because we are also people, and it's like we don't necessarily want to see ourselves go extinct.
Caesar's parents escaped the apocalypse,
absolutely,
because of it. Yeah, so
it's cyclical because it's literally a paradox.
Yes, so
absolutely.
Yeah, for me, healthy 1 star. I think they get really healthy ones. You know,
we'll get to that.
No,
you might be confusing that with another one.
Oh, that's fair. No.
I'm kidding.
No. This one, I give it a 4.
Okay,
that's good. Solid
4.
Solid, hell yeah.
Yes,
I liked it a lot.
Hell yeah. Conquest.
Right, same page on a lot here, gents. Yeah. Awesome.
Ben, what? So
we have our final movie here.
So here's what happened. Okay,
here's the thing. I'm an asshole. Yeah. I'm a major prick. Because
you're not predictable.
That's why I'm an asshole. Because because I have this thing where Noah liked to try and do a themed episode, and I just kind of said "fuck you," not in a very charming way.
Yeah, like very nice. It was like I'm kind of like, let's not do that.
Where it's like, you know what? I'm gonna do a hangout movie. I'm gonna do Dazed and Confused.
Rio Bravo.
I'm gonna do
Dick Figures
the movie. Because to me that's always. I love variety. So he said we're doing he put his great foot down and said he's like, I, Noah, God among men, say no. We're doing themed episodes because I want Brett to like the show. And I was like,
oh my god,
fair enough.
Well, I already like the show, so thank goodness.
So I was like, okay,
we crossed that. We already checked that one off.
So I thought, okay, I seen the original. I'm watching 2 of them. I looked at the whole series. I laid out all the titles. No. Maybe, and I asked and I remember this. I think I called you and I was like, hey, Noah, have you seen the Tim Burton one? And I remember there's a silence on the other end of the line for a second. No. I'm doing that one.
I was just like, he's gonna pick the Tim Burton one. Isn't he? It's
because I thought it'd be interesting because none of us have seen.
I can say I've seen it, man.
You've seen you see almost every Planet of the Apes.
I've seen around like 7. Yeah.
Yeah. So and you haven't seen it since you were little. You said
it's been years. I remember I remembered the ending, and that was it.
Yeah. and I'm a huge Tim Burton fan, so I was very curious because I love the original. I was like, what the fuck is this thing? Like, what could this possibly? I'm thinking it's gonna be like all the apes have like pinstriped armor,
right?
Like Johnny Depp's gonna be the main ape.
All of them are gonna be dressed like Edward Scissorhands.
It's like,
oh my goodness!
It's like the choir Danny Elfman score. Like, so like I was curious, and I'm so glad I picked it.
Oh God! Me too.
Because like this is because like the first two films were like this movie's great for this reason. We're just gonna shit
on this fucking.
We're gonna take a diarrhea dump in its mouth.
Like what?
Okay, this one
sucked cock.
This one's so bad.
This was like we. I feel like we've been trying to like.
The internet's right. This one's bad.
Yeah, we were just
good
like,
job, internet.
We went into this movie with
open mind. We're gonna give it a chance.
We're just like, okay, we put aside. It's like maybe we'll find some good stuff. It may not be great, but like
it's gotta have something.
Maybe it's gotta have something in it, you know. And
so let me explain the plot.
Yeah. You go ahead.
I can't wait for this.
Okay, so Marky Mark is in space because he attacked an admiral. He almost punched his eye out. I don't know. Something happened. He's in space. No, I'm fucking with you. No, he's a scientist or an astronaut or something. I don't know. Animal trainer. And like they're doing experiments with chimpanzees. He's mad they're experimenting with chimpanzees, even though that's the point. So they send out his pet chimp. I don't remember the name of it. It doesn't matter. And it gets sucked into this beautifully digital wormhole. We all thought it was beautiful. Beautiful purple shithole butthole thing. Whatever.
In space.
Yeah. And he's like, oh my, I gotta go after my chimp. So like he goes into a pot. No one tries to stop him. Like it's right over, like the control center's like 2 feet away. And it's like he just gets into it. He's pressing buttons. Like it's like there's no like escape pod activated. You're not gonna go like no. They'll bang and like no, don't do it, no. And he's like, fucking insert Marky Mark reference here. He shoots himself into space. And like after he does it, then they realize, oh shit, he got in the pod. It's like, okay. And he goes into the wormhole. It's like, no, fuck. And then of course we see the time go. Whatever.
Yeah. So
we see the dates of the time forward. Just go rapidly fast in time. Like just give away.
Yeah, no, that'll play. Like we'll
get back to that.
We'll get back to that.
So, okay, so he lands on the planet. He lands in Dagobah, and so he gets out, and then there's no time for that mystery of like, whoa, what's going on? It's like, all right, the apes are here. Fucking run, bitch. It's like, oh fuck! It's like that scene in the Phantom Menace when like all the animals are running away. It's like, oh shit!
It's a really good comparison.
And then so he's running away. He gets out, and like, wow, these poor humans in makeup are running away for their lives. And so they're stopped by apes, and he's like, get your hands off me, you damn dirty reference to the first film. And so he's
how shameless.
And like Marky Mark, to his credit, he's taking this very well. Like he's one thing you can say, like his character's level-headed. He's a good role model for the kids. Like he takes every situation very well. So he's taken to Jungle Land from Disney World. And,
absolutely.
And he meets the love of his life, which is Ape Lady.
Oh God!
And he's thrown into a cell. Brett just stood up. So okay, and then like he's like, can't you see this one's intelligent? After he tries to, he has a branding iron to her neck. She's like, no, he's safe. I trust him. He's like, bitch, you're gonna stab it in your neck. And then she's like, all right, I'll buy the both of them. Okay, why? And then like. But I remember I saw this. You guys didn't mention this. I don't know if you guys picked it up. But, like, there's the blonde hot lady with makeup and her dad. They get torn apart. She says no.
Really?
She says a word like right after you meet her.
Oh yeah, that's
She's
They
like,
say in
no!
They say in front of the apes? They say in front of the apes?
Yes! So the apes know that they can talk.
That's dumb.
no intrigue.
No. Fuck
That's
intrigue.
so fucking
Okay.
stupid.
Okay, so he's taken to the family place to be a waiter / lover. I don't know what the point.
Like, I don't... Yeah.
And then we meet the greatest character of all time, Mr. Fucking.
Paul Giamatti, right?
No, we're talking the general
Fade?
of Mushroom Mouth
Fade.
over here.
Oh,
He always sounds like he's either getting rammed up the ass or he ran a marathon. Like, the humans are disgusting.
it's just like...
I have no idea what he was going for.
And then,
Yeah.
so the character played by Tim Burton's future wife.
Hella bomb card.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, I was just like, oh.
And then she's like the one like.
she likes humans for some reason.
Well,
Yeah, it's
so
just like-
she's basically like the.
Kind of like the progressive, like, oh.
It's like the guy from. Freakazoid in the last film, where he's
Oh,
like
sure.
the guy in the circus. He's like he's the one. She's the one good one,
Uh-huh.
I guess. And she's like, well, humans are only fighting because we encroach on their territory. Like,
It's like, the fuck you say to me?
it's like that,
he's
it's
like-
such like a throwaway line
Yeah.
to give her any sort of like
And-
motivation.
and then fucking they decide to escape immediately. Like they literally put their hand through the bar and like boom, all right, we're free.
It's like,
Great, that was easy.
Holy
Holy
shit.
shit!
I was watching this movie with the intention of being like, I'm not gonna like draw. Like I was
That
just like,
didn't end well.
it was a feeble attempt to be like, I'm not gonna draw.
You know what? At least you gave it a
connections to the original.
chance. You gave it a genuine chance.
Here's the thing: it's like you can't. It's so hard to not draw connections
Yes.
between like, oh, the film did this one infinitesimally better
Yeah,
because it was
good.
done damn near perfectly.
Yes.
You
Right.
know? Like, money, you know? Money makes the world
You
go round.
can't
and
recapture the
No, you
world
can't.
building, the lore building, the character building, the
Yeah, but
history, the culture building in that original
No,
movie
you can't.
at all. You can't do it.
Here's the thing. There's a difference between you can't do it and just not trying.
Or just not trying.
They didn't. We're gonna. Okay. So they're escaping. They're running through people's houses like it's a Monty Python sketch. Where it's like, I'm rubbing your jowls. Yeah, I'm gonna fuck this. I'm not monkey lady with tits.
Yeah, it was like a broth. Yeah, it was a brothel.
No,
It's
no.
just like- no, but like the one.
It was the two people from the dinner scene who were like,
Oh,
it's those two.
This movie's like so horny.
Oh my god.
Like why?
And then they run into like this little girl who has the child in the cage, and she's like, "Yeah,
Which is
good
just
night."
it felt like a Tim Burton thing, where it's like I want it to be on. It was like something like Batman Returns or something.
Yeah,
There's
right,
I think
right.
there's some
odd
Tim Burton
thing,
style in
oddness to it. You know.
Okay, so they get the kid. They run out. They find. They run out to his pod. They get his magical explodey gun thing, and then like the other ape that's with him destroys it. It's like, you could use it against us. It's like, motherfucker, you have the whole ape army after you, motherfucker. Like,
yeah, it's
and then, okay, so they go to the desert. It's like, hey, it's kind of like the first one with the desert. Yeah, cool. And then they go to a campsite with tents and like, okay, we got to get across. We got to swim. No, swim in the water. No.
and we had to look this up. 'cause
Yeah, we
it's
looked
like,
at
yeah.
and like apes can't swim on their own. They can't. They're not born with it. So that's
They
good
did
job.
their homework there. That's good.
Yeah, I was
Thank you.
just like, oh, thank you. That adds so much to the movie.
That's so much
And
to
then
the lore.
they for some reason, instead of going around the camp and sneaking through the water, let's just run through it and burn their shit down. You know, they could have stole the horses and went around the camp to the lake, but no, let's. Also, they're running around with sticks on fire. They're hitting gorillas with sticks and they're going flying in the air. Like, is Marky Mark that strong? They have that big of a six pack that he can just send gorillas flying.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and then ape lady he wants to bang falls off her horse. He grabs her and puts her on. And they're going. She like grabs onto his face, and then they get across. And then they're like, we gotta get the fucking army, man. They go back to the city, and then while they get to this spaceship that looks like, yeah, they go to the spaceship that he's because he's tracking a signal from his little shippy dude thing.
Yeah.
And he gets there. He's like, "Oh my god, guys, this takes place in the future."
Oh,
I don't know if you knew this.
The twist is the character finds out something we've known since the beginning of the film.
But there's a twist.
He goes,
This isn't Earth.
This isn't Earth. Oh my god.
It's an actual alien planet.
It's not Earth. That's the twist for this Planet of the Apes
It's
movie.
like because the apes they had on
They
the ship
land on an
became,
inhabitable planet. The
even though
apes
they
take
only
over.
had chimpanzees, they didn't have any other kind of gorilla.
Yeah.
They just had chimpanzees, so they somehow evolved into orangutans. Somehow
They took over the world.
It's so piss poorly revealed, and our realization on
we
our
had to
main
stop and talk to each other
protagonist
to discuss
Discuss,
what was
like,
happening.
Like we had no idea what twist was actually trying to be communicated
It's
at all.
so disjointed and just like it was written as an attempt to be like, see, we're different. We're different, guys.
Precisely.
So that for me that pisses away the idea that this can be looked at as its own thing because you can't watch this movie with the intention of being like, if you were to introduce someone to this, like to Planet of the Apes by showing them this movie, you are doing them like the gravest disservice in the history of, oh hey, you want to see this movie about Planet? Like you want to see this movie? Like it's just like there are certain things where it's like, okay, you see showing someone a movie that isn't the first one in the series, is fine. Because there's certain points where it's like, oh, Fury Road is like a good introductory point to the world of Mad Max, you know? Showing someone Denis Villeneuve's Dune before the David Lynch one, because the David Lynch was more of a curiosity than anything else,
Right.
you know? But the idea of like trying to divorce this from the original film, it creates a paradox of itself where it's like, okay, why are we doing this in the first place then?
Right.
Why,
know what?
why are we doing this? What are we doing here? You know?
If you said, "Hey Ben, let's watch Planet of the Apes," and you put this on, I would have never talked to you again. Like, fuck you, Noah. No.
I'm like, what made you think I was ever?
Listen, I know I like Tim Burton, but I got a limit.
I got a limit here,
Okay.
and apparently he
Yeah,
does
yeah.
too.
Okay. But
So they find this out, and they're like, "Oh man, I'm sad. Oh my god."
It's the all. It's
It's his fucking
it's the all is
fault.
lost moment.
It's true.
It's like, okay, and then so they find
It is his
out
fault.
that the ancestor of the villain was the one who was basically Cesar, who said, "Fuck these humans." So like they lived peacefully, and then the apes said, "So the apes are bad. The apes are not like a cool allegory for you. No, they're just bad. They're bad."
Yeah.
And so and then the big ape army, a la Lord of the Rings, comes over the horizon. It's like,
It's
"Hey,
so
you
try-hard.
fucker!" No. I'm sorry. The ape lady played by Tim Burton's wife goes and say, "Hey, General, I want to have ape sex with you. You asked this earlier in the film, and I'll have ape sex with you," because that's a weird subplot. They say it once, like you deny my feelings. It's like, we just saw you with your wife and child. Like, what the fuck you talking about? So she's like, "I will have ape sex with you," and then he brands her hand, and then lets her go back. Lets her go.
Like, for what reason?
How did she get back? She can't swim. Okay, so she goes back and then like so it's like, it's too late to have ape sex. I'm mad at you.
Yeah. Oh,
And then and then Marky Mark's like, "Oh my god, my genius rap skills have figured something out. There's still fuel in this shitty ass, disgusting, broken down ship somehow. Here's the plan. It's like a Looney Tunes skit where it's like, we're gonna leave and we're gonna pull the lever and we're gonna burn them." And then this little human guy who hasn't said anything the whole film is like, "I can help too. Let me help." And he's like, "No, go back to safety." He's like,
No, what he said was, wait, who are you?
"Yeah." And then
Who are you?
And then he's like, "Get back." He's like, "No, I'm staying here to help." He's like, "Okay, get into positions." They all turn on. The kid his horse immediately falls down and he gets trapped. And Marky Mark's like, "Fuck!" And he runs back to the kid. He grabs the kid. He's like, "Fuck!" And he's running back. And it's like he jumps into the fire. And then an explosion, a shitty CGI explosion happens, and the apes are going flying. And
It was
like
so shit.
And then like afterwards, it's like, "Oh my, we did it!" Except we didn't, because now they're coming anyway. And then they're all fighting, and then like Marky Mark's punching gorillas in the face, and it's badass and epic and awesome. And then Deus Ex Machina chimpanzee comes from the sky. It's like, "Oh my god, my chimp friend, Dr. Bozobo," or whatever the fuck his name was.
Yeah.
It's like,
Completely turned me off from the movie.
Shows.
and then all the apes just like immediately like, "Oh my god, it's Jesus."
No.
Except the villain ape who like starts like beating
Yeah,
on it, like
it's
throwing
like-
it around, like, "Wait,
Like, what?
and then he's chasing the normal chimpanzee into the ship, and like he's like beating up Marky Mark, and they're all fighting to get inside. and then they fight, and then they lock the bad guy chimp in a thing, and he has a gun. He's like shooting the gun. He's like, "Let me out!" And he's like, he goes to his friend. He's like, "Let me out!" He's like, "Your family did this to us." And he's like, he goes to the lady, "I'll have sex with you again. Just let me out." And he's like, "Oh my god, no!" And then he just becomes a cowering little bitch. Okay.
And it's like that scene went on for like way too long. It was like,
first of all, a better ending would have been if they just left him there to die. Like if they just left the ship and never went back. And then so they're done with that. They saved the day, and Michael's like, "Okay, fuck you guys, I'm going home." And he goes into the ship. He flies. He goes to the future past, and then chimps rule Earth
under because of Thade.
Yeah, so I guess they got out of the thing
and somehow got.
So I guess they were on Earth. So the chimps became Earth, and then the movie ends.
The twist genuinely makes no sense.
And
like both twists genuinely
twists,
fall flat on their face. They don't make any sense. You can't correlate the two of them in any way.
No.
It's this movie, I said during it, I've never seen something try so hard and yet offer literally nothing, because they try so hard with the makeup and the production design and like some of the shot. There's some good shots here or there, some fun establishing shots, but for the most part, the movie goes way too fast. It's paced so quickly to the point where you can't even like breathe with the story or or take in anything that's happening naturally.
Look at this cool environment.
You can't do it. It's just like and you're following these characters that are just going through the story like at such a rapid speed, but you don't know who any of them are. They have like no identity to them.
It's not.
It's not good. It's
not so much a remake of Planet of the Apes. This is a remake of the last third of Planet of the Apes.
No, truly, it's like it's all Planet of the Apes without any of the intrigue, without anything that made the franchise that actually like special, that made it even worth having 4 or 5 sequels after it.
I made like 3 little note things about this. It was like the bottom one was just all around about like what the key. There's a lot wrong with this movie, but the key component is the movie is so fucking human affirming that it's disgustingly contrary to the point of this entire series. It's comfort. It's comfort food. It's being like, no, humans are good. There's like hope, we beat the ape people.
So hopeful.
It's comfort food with mold on it.
Yeah, it's
not even good dumb popcorn fun. The action sucks.
Yeah,
it does.
Terrible.
The action
They're
is
all
so bad.
All the apes are jumping around like Spider-Man.
On wires.
The wire work
is atrocious. Yeah,
and
the villains are like just clearly they're the bad guys.
Yeah,
it's like the nuance is gone.
Everything is so black and white. There's literally exactly. There's no depth. There's no layers. There's just everything is just so like surface level and just like Ben was saying, like some of the technical choices, like with some of like the fighting and the way they're filmed and choreographed, they're so like amateur and basic. And
like the final fight, there's dust all over. You can't
even see anything.
Wait, which one's that? Wait, what?
You don't even. It's not even choreographed in a way or blocked in a way where you can even follow what's going on in the action. No. It's just like It's just like word vomit, but action.
Yeah, it's like the dialogue
is so bad.
Oh, it's atrocious.
I have to apologize for the prequel trilogy of Star Wars. I mean that genuinely.
Yeah.
Because at least I felt like George Lucas, it's not good, but he tried.
He did try.
This one, like...
Nothing. Right.
Okay. Ape Lady, played by Tim Burton's wife, she was like a lover of the bad guy, or they were child friend. They wanted to fuck. I don't know. But then they're
familiars.
That like just the dialogue like
the script didn't even know.
You don't return my affection. It's like first of all, I can't understand any of the gorillas. Like they all sound like. First of all, I was halfway through. I was like, I wanted to pause and get subtitles because what the fuck, like. What?
It's like what we really needed in the original Planet of the Apes. One thing I really wanted to explore on was a love triangle between Kim Hunter as Zira, and then Nova, and then between that and Taylor.
Yeah,
I really wanted a love triangle with Taylor,
really
Zira, and
battle
Nova.
scenes.
Yeah,
really.
The fact that Marky Mark had more sexual chemistry with the gorilla than the actual human is very off-putting to me. I found that very the fact because I held the bottom cards really close up to sexy dialogue. It's like. are they gonna fuck or like, what's happening?
It's just so uncomfortable.
What was the name of Marky Mark's character?
I don't know.
Don't know.
That's why I've been calling him Marky Mark, because like, is it still the
I don't know.
The Green Hornet movie's a better adaptation than this?
Kinda, yeah.
Yes.
Because like, at least that it was still, I could still like Green Hornet.
Yeah, it
has
still felt like
nothing-
Green Hornet. Yeah, a
This
little
has
bit.
nothing
It was
that
shit,
gives
but
It
this
was
is
shit, but still, like, I could identify. Oh, that's Green Hornet.
like
that's
aside
an
from
interpretation of it.
yeah, this is like
The opening credits were good.
yeah.
We all noted that. We were like, these opening
credits,
credits
I
are
thought the
kinda-
music
these
was
are pretty
fine.
saucy. Yeah, the music's fine.
Whatever.
I-
It's bland, but it works.
It works.
The makeup was pretty good. Good job, Rick Baker. You're the saving grace of this goddamn movie.
I feel like that's just like kind of makes it even more offensive, where it's like you wasted.
I know
Rick Baker.
They wasted all this talent that really you see so much of it like in the movie. You see so much of like the potential that it
so
had.
much effort, and just like just the
it
people
just
were
needed a
really
different
talented,
director.
just didn't give a shit. You know?
Right. No, okay. So after you watch
writer
this
and a
film,
director.
you said I have 3 choices for directors. I
Yep,
think
yep.
would have been better. I'm very curious
I'm
in what.
curious.
Yeah, so let's do a little bit of let's do a little similar speculation ourselves, gentlemen.
Yes.
Let's do it.
So if the movie
go.
made okay, so here's the thing. Here's given certain let's bite the bullet and say that this movie had let's say in this universe, in order for the world not to implode, there has to be an action epic Planet of the Apes remake, right?
Which could work.
Which sure, it's
Absolutely.
like could work in the right hands.
Yes.
So instead of Tim Burton, let's think of some 3 directors who would be better suited for this kind of material, for like a kind of a post-apocalyptic battle.
Yes.
The kind of a war.
Yes.
Between humans and apes.
Yes.
And my first choice right at the bat was, if this movie didn't get made in 2001 and it got made 20 years later, and this director did not make the movies he made recently, it would be Denis Villeneuve.
I was thinking that.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a
There's
good
some
choice.
Dune stuff at the end, like
Absolutely.
things that reminded me of Dune.
I think he would make it huge.
Yeah,
he would
yeah.
really make it. He would really bring out the scale
Yes.
of the world for sure, and the nihilism of it all. I think he would
Okay.
do some good stuff with that.
And
It'd be beautiful.
Number 2, this could have been made in 2001.
Yes.
Like this, said Tim Burton, get this guy, George Miller.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh, whoa, okay. I
Happy
like that.
Feet, love it.
Yes.
So
The
it's like-
critically acclaimed Happy Feet too.
It's not particularly like George Miller's world,
No.
because he created the Mad Max world, but I
Yes.
feel like he's adapt. Like a good director is like also flexibility and versatility and range. So obviously, like directors are like, they have their styles, but I feel like post-apocalypse, dystopia, he'd make it work.
I feel like he
especially
could
with
too.
making an action epic where it's humans pitted against their ape equivalent.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a great choices.
Yeah. So, and then my third, probably like a tier below those 2, but still would be like, it would at least be a better movie.
Yeah.
James Cameron.
Interesting.
No, what's interesting? He almost did.
Really? He
So
almost
this movie
Wow.
has a history.
really?
They've been trying to make a Planet of the Apes film since the late 80s.
Wow.
So here's some directors that were on board to do it, but didn't do it.
Okay. Let's
Ooh,
hear it. Let's
oh,
hear
I
it.
love
Let's hear it.
this.
Let's hear it.
And one, here's some that were considered:
Okay.
Oliver Stone,
Okay.
Wow.
Sam Raimi.
Oh.
Wow.
Okay.
Let's see.
Very good.
Wait, why do I feel like that would have been really good?
I feel like
Christopher Columbus.
I feel like it would have been kind of
CGI?
Well, again, like this was 90. Like this is
Chris-
still in the 90s. This is
Yeah.
like this is not like into. This is still like throughout the
throughout the planning,
from
like, throughout the
1988
speculation
to then.
of
They were
making
trying to.
it.
They were trying
They're
to.
trying
Get
to
this off.
Was Zemeckis one of them at all? Zemeckis
doesn't
on
look
that
like it.
list? No?
Doesn't
He
look
seems
like
like he
That
would
shocks
be,
me.
Yeah,
I feel like he'd be a candidate.
it would be all CG.
Yeah, it'd be.
I'm just kind of looking what I got here. James Cameron. You
Yep,
were
yep.
right about that. He was on board.
I can see that.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Avatar.
let's see.
Avatar, yeah.
Roland Emmerich. They offered it to Roland Emmerich.
Okay, you could have
Wow.
done something with that, I guess. It would have been great, but it'd been better than
Would've
this
been
shit.
something. Yeah, this shit was.
Yeah.
This shit
And
was
then-
so bad.
And then, of course, they went to Tim.
Who's not an action director?
No.
Really?
And like, if he made something more like because the first one's not an action film either.
No, it's not.
So if he made something more like that, maybe.
It just
and if they had a better script.
Yeah,
Right.
no, yeah.
It didn't feel like he personally resonated with this at all.
No.
Not this concept.
No.
I think the problem is the script.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The
That
source
is
is the script, yeah.
The poison arrow is the script.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Like, if it was even a good script, even if Tim Burton didn't give a shit, it would have been fine.
If it were a good script, but like in the wrong hands, it would have been. It
Good.
still would. It would have been better than this because, like,
Yeah.
I would prefer like the double whammy of having like a well-suited
course.
director who cares,
course.
mixed with a well-crafted script. And it's just disappointing to be like, oh, this is like it took so long to make this, and this is the result. This
That's
is
the
a shit
result.
show. This is
Yeah.
fucked.
Yeah, just an absolute just cartoon show.
I was like thinking, it's like this is more of a fucking Hanna-Barbera cartoon than the
Animated
70s series,
Right.
you know, the animated show.
I was because like fuck, man.
It's just
That's what it is. It's just like it broke me. It broke my brain.
I was just like for a bunch of times I was just like looking at the screen going, "Fuck you."
Yeah, this is everything Conquest isn't. Like,
Yeah, no,
I
it's
just
like-
got done talking about how subtle and how beautifully like layered and like how so full of depth the whole world is in Conquest.
And this
And
is just fuck the monkey lady.
this is literally just like, hey, here's horrible, shameless, like just awful references to the original film.
Get your damn hands off me,
Just-
human.
Just stock protagonist that is like just the definition of milk toast.
Marky Mark, I think is the worst part.
He's the worst part of the
terrible
movie.
part of
If
it. Yeah.
Horrible.
because like I was looking like they thought like Tom Cruise maybe.
Okay,
That would've been
Or
just
like-
as
it
bad.
could've been- it could've
No,
been a little bit
no.
better.
Tom Cruise can act.
No,
Marky
that's
Mark
true.
is a rapper.
Yeah, that's fair. Mark,
Like
yeah.
like the best.
I thought Brendan Fraser would have been.
Yeah,
better.
we talked
Yeah,
about
Brendan
this.
Fraser,
Brendan
yeah.
Fraser, but like, because like I just don't like. Was he that big at the time? Was Marky Mark like a huge star at the time?
I have no because it was Backstreet. What was it? Backstreet Boys that he was a part of, right?
No, it wasn't Backstreet. But he was just like Marky. He's his
No,
own.
but
thing.
I know, but like, was that?
He did Basketball Diaries with Leo before this, and
I
he
don't
was
remember-
really good in that.
Because I'm not a Mark Wahlberg connoisseur, so I don't know. Like
I know a couple of years after.
apex, you
couple
know.
of years after this, he had The Departed.
Yeah,
But
because
he-
like
where
7
he
years later,
he played
yeah.
a slimy Boston asshole, and he was really good at it.
Was that
That's true.
2006?
yeah, 06.
06.
Yeah.
And he did like the other guys.
Oh,
where he just
God.
played an asshole.
Yeah.
He's good at playing an asshole.
I
So
just
it's
don't.
just not a
I wasn't.
scientist.
I didn't get what he was going for in this.
No.
Same with the way we just got done talking about how Tim Burton didn't emotionally resonate with this. I don't think Mark emotionally resonated with the
No.
script at all. This was totally a paycheck role for him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel any like emotional connection to him or his acting at all.
But he
It's-
loved his little chimp baby.
He did.
He had to
Save
go
it.
after his
It
chip.
was he was just so one note, just so I don't think he changed facial expressions like the entire movie. He like
Heavy breathing
never
does not
raised his
mean acting.
voice.
Heavy
No,
breathing doesn't
exactly.
equal acting.
It just feels like very again like all of his choices just feel so amateur, and like I feel like I know he can act, and I feel like at the time he could act. I just don't understand what was going through his brain during the making of this, where he just felt like, whatever.
And
This will make money. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what I do.
it's like
People are here for the apes, which
Yeah.
is probably what he was
we were
thinking.
mentioning this before, where it was like this was 2 years after Phantom Menace,
Right.
so it was like. Which were like, it was just odd to think about, like where it's like, where a world where, because even though it's this fresh, where it's like, Fox was not owned by Disney,
Right.
You know,
It's like the beginning stages of people like getting really excited for returning IPs
Yeah.
that have been long gone for a
'Cause
very long time.
we were
and
talking about
fandoms.
this. We didn't really know what this like. We had no idea like really what the discourse was for
Sure.
the anticipation of this movie. I just don't. Yeah, it's just like looking at it. I'm just like, hold on, I'm gonna look.
I
at the
can't see
plot.
the satisfying expectations. I feel like
No.
most people walked out of this thinking it was
I would have
absolute
walked. I would have
garbage.
walked out of this, dude.
I genuinely.
I genuinely am dumbfounded by all of the decisions that were made in the movie because it's just so not the Apes franchise.
Oh, the movie bombed.
Good.
Good as it should have.
Fuck this movie.
Fuck it, I hate it so much.
That's the thing about Star
Oh,
Wars.
oh, hold on. I've looked up budget. Hold on, sorry. Excuse me.
Well,
That
it's
was
still
box-
bombed.
Hold on, I'm gonna look up its budget.
Either way, the money didn't get made.
Oh, it broke even. It's no, come on, damn it.
Well, he's like,
it has the name. It
Yeah,
has
it's
the
just like-
name.
it's got gorillas in it.
It's
and
got gorilla.
They
It's,
talk.
it's
And
got a
Marvin
twist.
Monk-
It's got a twist.
I don't know, like what, like we're because I heard
This is one of the worst remakes I think I've ever seen.
This was like this like was so far off the mark,
Right.
and so offensive to me as like not just an Apes fan, but also just like a movie, like just
As a human being.
as
Someone who likes
as a film
movies,
goer and as a human
human.
being.
It was insulting my intelligence.
I get that, like how somebody like who's not familiar with Apes would probably give it like a 2 or like a 1.5
Or just
or
like,
something.
what's wrong with it? And it's like,
I mean,
like,
whatever. It's a
you
shitty
know,
whatever movie.
I know.
As,
Right?
as an Apes fan, personally, I feel personally attacked.
I was pissed. I genuinely got very mad as soon as the Deus Ex chimpanzee has been
Yeah, it was
so
like,
beautifully put in.
what?
I stood up and I wanted. I almost walked out of the house. Like, like it
No,
just.
to
It
record
was,
this podcast.
Yeah, right. I was like, guys, I don't think this is gonna work. Not kidding. I don't think I can talk about this. No, it just. It's so sloppy, unfocused, wasted potential on so many technical sides. Wasted talent with a really good director who just didn't give a shit about any of this. Same with the star, didn't care about any of this. Some of the actors were just going way too over the top for their own good, especially our antagonist, Tim Roth, which I love you, Tim, but what were you doing? What were you doing?
Like, what?
Helena, I love you too, but you gotta...
You
should-
tried.
She
She's
tried.
the most who actually had a
definitely-
performance.
Yeah, she
genuinely-
gave a performance. In
She
this
gave
movie,
a performance, and it was...
It was weirdly sexual, but it was still a
Yeah, it
performance.
was just like
Yeah.
very hot and bothered for some reason. It was just like,
the
why
whole
is
time,
it-
like Tim Burton was like really horny for her on set. It's like because he's like I don't know.
Well, exactly. She tried to genuinely give her character somewhat of an identity, so that was refreshing to see in the movie, and not just like mean ape, big ape, white protagonist, blonde girl.
lady with lipstick.
Like,
I was just like,
all the humans are so freshly out of the makeup chair. Like it's
They're
not,
talking.
They're talking, and it's like there's no shock from the apes. There's no like clear like citing of differences between the apes and man.
Because
it's
in
just,
the first film, the fact that they're so primitive,
they're naked.
makes it more
they're
like
animals.
which makes them like the conversation more interesting because it's like the scientists in the first film were still more humane.
Yeah.
but
they're still
they're more
like,
animals. Like they treat them more like
complacent, yeah.
animals.
Yeah,
She's
it's just like-
studying them as animals. She's
animals,
literally
yeah.
treating them like, okay,
Because
yes,
she's not
how are
trying
we
to
feeling
liberate
today?
them.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay, here's a sugar
Yeah.
cube. Good. Yeah, it's literally.
But this one's like
treating
they're
them
just like
horses.
I don't like this. Fuck you.
Yeah, it's so stupid. There's no intrigue. There's nothing.
It's not like
There's nothing to
It's-
get attached to.
the whole thing with the original Planet of the Apes was it wasn't slave labor. It
was
like
animals.
It was animal.
It was a zoo.
It was a zoo. Yeah.
Which
It
was
was a
something that
laboratory.
War for the Planet of the Apes got very right. But that's a whole different
That's a
topic.
whole-
I haven't seen it,
I
so
haven't
I don't
seen
want
it.
to
I haven't
spoil
seen it
anything.
either. Yeah.
But just that's something that War for the Planet of the Apes got right, since it is somewhat of a prison movie. Anyway.
Got it.
So since we've all sung the praises of Planet of the Apes by Tim Burton,
Yes.
I think we
We all
should
loved
get
it.
to our ratings.
Masterstroke.
This is a 5 out of 5 for me.
Absolutely.
I think it's a masterpiece.
It's not woke garbage.
It's not woke. It's
the big strong white man saves the day.
Yeah, it was
what?
so. This is what movies are supposed to be. No, no. This was pretty much everything you both said. This was insulting to me as a movie fan, as an Apes fan, especially. Just even as a fan of just like this art form as storytelling, it's just like this is so like anti that. It just feels so much like just such a product of its time, like a true product. You know, if nowadays we refer to the horrible Marvel movies as factory movies, then this is probably the closest you would have gotten to that at the time. Just very little passion and so many studio mandated business decisions being made here. Wasted potential on all ends. One.
Well, you Ben.
This was AIDS. This is terrible. Oh my I'm so sorry I picked this movie, you guys.
No, it's okay.
It's okay.
It made
It's like, it was
made me-
educational.
It
It was
actually
just-
made me realize
I know.
why I love the actual Good Apes movie.
Yeah, no,
I
Yeah.
remember we were sitting watching the big grand explosion thing. I was like, wouldn't it make more sense to try and drown them? Because they established
Because they established that they
they
didn't
set up
swim.
it never paid off.
There's
Yeah.
no
twice. They
setup
did
and
that twice.
payoff.
Because like
There's
the first,
nothing.
and I was like, oh, just blow them up. And
Just
I-
blow 'em
Yeah.
up.
The
Explosion.
exact opposite element. Yeah.
I
Who
just,
cares?
And like again, I'm a noob to the franchise, so I've seen 4 of the films. I've seen the original, Beneath, Conquest, and this. This whole thing was a this is such whiplash. My neck is cracked. It's like, oh, weird.
I know. You need to. You got to watch the Caesar. We got to get you. We got to get you watching the Caesar trilogy.
Yeah. The seizure.
that-
the seizure
Yeah,
trilogy.
the Caesar.
Oh fuck.
The Caesar.
This was just. I don't know. This is what I imagine people who talk about Charlie and Chocolate Factory mean. It's like people are like, oh, that's the worst movie ever. It's like I like that movie, but like when I saw this, I was offended.
Yeah.
I've seen 3 of the other films, and I know the basics of the idea, and I wanted to blow my brains out the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, holy fucking shitballs.
bad.
That was...
Tom, like, relative to bad Tim Burton movies.
Yes.
It's
This
like
one
I
is-
think
This is not the worst.
I think Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is worse.
Okay.
Interesting.
But both are 1.5s for me. This
No,
is
that's
a
fair.
This
one-
is not-
No,
this-
sorry, excuse me, half star.
Half
this
star.
is both are half stars. This is a fucking half star. For
Oh,
me.
and
This-
also, for me, it was a 1 star. I forgot to say that.
That's right.
Oh,
You
yeah.
were really
So I kinda-
deep
I
in
kinda
thought
stole
there.
that from you.
Yeah,
but
no, it's fine because like this is not the worst Burton I've seen. That'd be like Dumbo, like soulless, like
Oh,
he
sure.
doesn't even
Okay.
care anymore.
Interesting. Yeah. I forgot
Like
about
this
that.
has, like, he's not passionate, but also everyone else on set's not passionate. This had some people like
Yeah.
try, and like the whole time we were like, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like we were literally just like
cherry
find
picking
some
cherry
some-
picking good
some
things,
stuff
yeah.
to like about it to keep us watching.
That's a cool
it.
intro. I
Yeah.
like that. That's cool, and like that's all.
I was
got.
craving establishing shots, and I
yeah.
got like 5 in total throughout the
And they're all
movie. So I was like,
decent.
okay, they're all pretty decent. These are fine. Thank
Like-
you for
like-
giving me something.
It was like being in prison and giving crumbs to you.
It's true. No, truly, it was like
Licking the plate, like
thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh no, now the plate's empty.
it
More
was-
gruel, please.
So highly recommend it. But no, seriously, like as someone said, what not to do in a movie.
Yeah.
Like this is like, don't do this.
Yeah.
Do something. No.
No, it's just no,
The perfect review. No.
no.
Just
No.
How prolific since it's
No.
Apes.
It's no.
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 But
Yeah.
no. The word of the day is
No.
But that's the 3 Apes movies we watched for the podcast.
Yay.
This was
It's
awesome,
been-
you
it's been a
guys.
journey.
Thanks, guys.
It's been
That
a
was
journey,
great.
guys.
That was so much fun. I love that. Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, watch the Apes movies. They're great.
Yeah.
All of them. Watch all of them.
So good.
Watch the 2001 one twice.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, check out Beneath and Conquest. They're
Beneath
really
and
good.
Conquest are great. And just check out really run through like the original series if you want. But
Yeah.
particularly like
The first
for
one.
me like the first, and if you like watch the original, watch Conquest, and but if you're curious, if you're like really like if you're kind of like if you're a weirdo like me, watch Beneath, because just like to get that
Sure.
feel, it's like it's not really for everybody. It's not.
No,
It's fucking weird.
It's fucking,
is weird.
It's cerebral.
It appeals
it's
to our
odd.
weirdness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but I'm just so glad I could go on this journey through time with you guys
Aw.
throughout the span of the apes chronology. It
was fun.
And the highs and the lows.
the lows.
There was-
The
there were
lowest of
very
the
low
lows.
Thankfully, it was as low as they got because the franchise has been pretty
Kingdom.
consistent.
Yeah.
Not too
What's your
bad.
non-spoiler 1 sentence review of Kingdom, Brett?
Super fun, really interesting. Really excited to see where they're going to go with it. I really liked all the characters. Exciting stuff. Really good concepts. Stays in line with the original series as well as keeping in line with the original Caesar trilogy. And it also stands on its own. So it very much feels like an Apes movie in that way. So I was happy with it. Very excited. Yep.
Yay.
Absolutely.
I'll have to check out the Cesar trilogy going forward.
Absolutely.
There exists in the state of Wisconsin a podcast of nerdy guys talking about movies, and that podcast is now dead. So you guys,
Jesus.
That was great. And now I'm gonna blow up the world after Ben shoots me. All right.
You damn right.
Yeah.
sayonara.
Precisely.